These fools, they'll never learn.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Kungfusations. If you're not aware of this part of the Food for Thought channel, this is when I sit down with someone from, it could be the Kung Fu cinema community, it could be an actor, it could be a director, it could be a fight choreographer, it could be anyone. So I sit down with someone and we just chat all things Kung Fu cinema. That's basically how it works. It's a free-flowing conversation. I don't have questions written down. I don't have anything. I just bring in the conversation and we chat it up about Kung Fu cinema. That's the way I like to do things. I think it's made for some wonderful conversations. And today I am very, very, very pleased to have someone I have known for many years, kind of technically known for many years. But this is the first time we're actually sitting down face to face. And he is an author. He is a wonderful reviewer of martial arts cinema, and I think I'm safe to say this. He knows a lot more about the genre than I do. So I would like to introduce Blake Matthews. Hey, Blake, how are you doing?
I'm fine, and you? How are you?
I'm awesome. Having a pretty good day. It's raining outside right now. Hopefully, we can't hear the rain pouring down. But you know, I'll power through.
Yeah, over here it's we're in the fall, but it's about 80 something degrees.
Well, it was actually 90 degrees here last week. We had a scorching last week, but this week it's kind of dropped, and I think we're in the 50s today. So you're in Brazil, correct?
Right. I live in southeastern Brazil in a city called Santo André, which is right next to São Paulo. It's in the São Paulo metropolitan area.
Very nice, very nice. Yes. For those that don't know, I live in sunny Maryland. So, bit of a difference between where we live, I'm sure. We can go ahead and jump into just kicking off the conversation. I think it's safe to say we know each other from the famous, the legendary, the iconic Kung Fu fandom message boards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they've been around quite some time.
Yeah. I've been a member for 11 years, and you had already been around. And
yeah.
I had joined when I published my first book because I needed a market, but I knew that I needed to get close to the fan base. And
right.
At the time, I had been a member of another message board, which was mainly for B movies in general.
Oh, okay.
But I wasn't part of any specific Kung Fu community. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think I've been there for far too long. I think it's 17 years now. So I was let's see. Oh Jesus, I was in my 20s when I joined that. So it's been a long time. For those that don't know, it's the Kung Fu fandom, Kung Fu cinema boards. They are a wonderful place to be for all things martial arts cinema and all people martial arts cinema. They have been around for a long time, way before I joined. And it's an absolute fantastic community. We've got some true legends on there. You said you joined when you published your first book. Which one was your first book?
It's called It's All About the Style, a survey of martial arts styles used in Chinese movies.
Lovely. I am proud to say I have a copy right here. I was very, very happy to pick up this book and give it a read. So anyone out there, can you still pick up a physical copy?
Yes. When I first published it, it was as a Kindle, and then enough people on the Kung Fu fandom forum expressed interest in having a physical copy that I set it up so that you could order a physical copy as well.
Yeah, I think I jumped at the opportunity. And everyone out there, this is an incredible book. It's a lengthy, wonderfully written book. And basically, I'm sure you can break it down better than I can, but it's just singling out the styles in Kung Fu cinema. Would that be correct?
Right. In the introduction, I kind of start with a brief history of both martial arts and just martial arts cinema, Kung Fu cinema. And then I kind of go by style. So you might have Hung Gar, individual tiger style, snake, crane, panther, Tai Chi Chuan, Bagua, praying mantis, the eagle claw, and basically each section will have kind of a rundown of the history of the style, kind of some of each style's defining characteristics, kind of a brief rundown of which movies you can find examples of it, and then a couple of better examples of each film. A couple of films that have maybe one of the better fights to showcase that style.
Wonderful.
And I do that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, and I do that for Chinese martial arts styles. I have a section for Japanese. Because, we know that ever since Chinese boxer, Japanese karate in some way or another has been portrayed.
Yeah.
And a weapons section.
Yes. True story. I was just flicking through your book earlier, showing my wife, and she is a big weapons fan, and she saw the section on weapons, and her eyes lit up. So she was very excited about that. And I have a question for you. Actually, I don't know how much you remember writing this book, because obviously it was a while ago. But one of the questions I get an awful lot on Instagram is, are there any films that actually feature Bagua in it? Do you remember any that feature Bagua?
Yes. There is a mainland film from about 1983 called Pride's Deadly Fury, and that revolves entirely around Bagua.
Wow.
It's more of a drama. More of a melodrama. It's from 1987 or 1988. It's called 8 Diagram Lotus Palm.
Interesting.
And that is also about Bagua masters. And then it comes up like in individual fights in different movies. So martial arts from Shaolin, when Jet Li and Yu Hui are fighting the main villain at the end, They start off fighting with the mantis style, and then they switch to Bagua.
Nice. And
Young Hero from Shaolin Part 2, which was a mainland film about Feng Sayok. There's a quick scene where a female martial artist uses Bagua when a bunch of thugs are attacking her school.
Oh, interesting.
And then the good Jet Li uses Bagua in The One.
Yeah, I think that's the one that everyone knows. Pardon the pun. Yeah, I think that's the single film. They're like, okay, we know that Bagua's in that one, but it's interesting that it's in quite a few mainland films.
Yeah, my understanding is that it's part of like a typical mainland wushu curriculum. So, they say, oh, he studied wushu, and that kind of means. That's kind of an umbrella term, and my understanding is that different wushu schools will have like different curriculums. So
yes.
like at the Beijing Wushu Academy, where Jet Li, Donnie Yen, Vincent Zhao, where they studied, their curriculum would have had like Northern Shaolin Long Fist, Eagle Claw, Praying Mantis, Bagua, Tai Chi, Xingyi, and who knows how many different weapons.
Yeah. So I consider you a somewhat of an encyclopedia of knowledge on the genre, and I think one of the questions that I've never asked you, and you may have answered it somewhere along the line, but I think the big question is, how did you get into the genre?
Well, I was born in 1982, so I was I was a kid in the 80s, and so like ever since I can remember, for example, ninjas were always part of the pop culture landscape.
Yeah.
You had G.I. Joe with Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. You had the Ninja Turtles. You had games like Shinobi, Ninja Gaiden, and so ninjas were just always something I was aware existed. They were cool people who wore hoods and carried swords and threw shurikens and sometimes could do magic.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I was I watched Ninja Turtles, the cartoon, and the 1990 movie was the first movie that I went to twice in the theater, and so martial arts was always kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that probably around 1991 was when I really started getting into it. I was 9, and now I don't remember the order, but part 1 is that I had a set of very liberal aunt and uncle,
Mm-hmm.
and they had cousins, the youngest of which was my older brother's age, and we kind of had a thing set up where twice a year we would do kind of a child exchange, where one of us would spend a week there and one of them would come over to our house for a week.
Oh, okay.
And because they were liberal, when I was 9, at their house, I watched RoboCop, I watched Aliens, and one day they rented Revenge of the Ninja.
Ah, okay.
Shokasugi.
Yes.
And, that movie was not meant to be seen by a 9-year-old. I liked it, and you never forget the feelings of being a 9-year-old and watching an entire family get slaughtered in the first 5 minutes. There's a sequence where the evil ninja starts killing off his rivals. Yeah. There's this scene where this overweight guy is having sex with a woman in a jacuzzi, and the evil ninja hits him with a blow dart, and so he falls unconscious, and he starts drowning the girl with his weight because he's on top of her, and then I think he shoots her too, and then later the police come, to like remove the body, and one of the policemen remarked, it would have taken a jackhammer to get those two apart. And, there's a scene where another guy takes a shuriken right to the eye. Just real pleasant stuff.
Good stuff for a 9-year-old, though. A 9-year-old will just absorb that stuff.
Yeah. And I just never forgot that. But it was also around that same time that Kickboxer with Van Damme came to HBO, and my brother wanted to record it. So one Saturday night he recorded it, and it became one of those movies that we would watch, and then he would have friends over and we'd watch that again, and around this, and then he would later record Hard to Kill with Steven Seagal and Perfect Weapon with Jeff Speakman.
Yeah.
And so, I became kind of a fan of Seagal and Van Damme. And I would say by 94, I was vaguely aware of Jackie Chan.
Okay.
Mainly because of like martial arts magazines, but I'd never seen a movie of his. And 94, I believe that was the year that Jackie Chan won the MTV Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah.
It's like he hadn't even officially had the theatrical release in the States since The Protector. He's getting this award, and they're like showing all these clips from his Hong Kong movies. I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. And then, shortly thereafter, Rumble the Bronx came out.
Yeah.
And I missed that in the theater, but we rented it. And it was fun. And then I missed Super Cop in the theater. And then Crime Story came out direct to video. And that was dubbed. And I don't know if it was Jackie Chan or someone who really, really sounded like him, but I rented that, and it was okay. It didn't have a whole lot of fighting, for my 12-year-old self, but it was a decent watch.
Right.
And then around the end of 96, beginning of 97, First Strike came out. And
yeah.
And then we saw that, my brother and I and some of his friends saw that at the Dollar Theater. It was one of those things where you pay like $1.75 and watch 2 movies that were like at the end of their theatrical runs.
Yeah.
So we watched that, and then I ended up recording First Strike from pay-per-view a couple of months later. And then in the summer of 97, I rented Drunken Master from Blockbuster, and I enjoyed it, but I wasn't quite. I don't think I was quite ready.
Okay, yeah, that makes
for
sense.
for shapes.
Yeah,
And then around July, there was no, my family, we had, I was the youngest of three, and my mom and dad, they both worked, and my mom would set aside one day for each of us during summer vacation to take us clothes shopping and maybe do something else that each of us individually liked.
yeah.
And I remember that the day before my shopping day, my mom took me to Blockbuster, and I rented Police Story and Super Cop, and I watched those kind of back to back.
Nice.
And I think by then, and I think at that point, I became a believer.
Yeah.
And so like the next day, we went shopping, stopped by Blockbuster to return the movies, and I bought a $10 VHS of Jackie Chan's Police Force, aka Police Story.
Mm-hmm.
And while we were out shopping, we stopped at Barnes & Noble's, and I got Inside the Dragon, which was a Jackie Chan book. It was one of the first ones. And so now I have this book that has basically all of his films. It had a chapter about the best fights from individual Jackie Chan movies. So now I had a guide. And and I always had the collector spirit. I collected Godzilla movies, old sci-fi movies as a kid.
Okay.
I when I was in middle school, I collected James Bond movies. So once I became a believer, the collecting just took off.
Yeah. I get that. I think that happens to a lot of us.
Yeah. So 97. I'm renting The Big Brawl. I'm renting Snake and Crane Arts of Shaolin. Oh, I have some extra money. Let's go buy Heart of Dragon, which Tai Seng released. Oh, let's get Young Master 2.
Nice.
And it just doesn't stop.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. A lot of people I speak to, the story, the Kung Fu cinema journey usually starts with either Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan. Mine personally began with Jackie Chan also. Mine actually began with Drunken Master, believe it or not. Yeah, my brother once handed me a VHS and just said, "You have to watch this," and I watched it, and I just fell in love instantly.
It's kind of funny because the first time I watched it, I was kind of meh. And then even so, because I had the collector spirit, I asked for it later that same Christmas. So about 6 months later, I put it on my Christmas list, and I got the VHS with the original dub, the best one.
Nice.
And then a couple months later, I showed it to some of my friends, and they instantly put it on the classics list. So
yeah. So, speaking of that original dub, it's so good. Is that the one where Huang Zhangli is Thunderfoot rather than Rubberleg?
Right. Yeah. Thunderfoot.
Yeah. I grew up making a lot of like Yahoo and AOL chat room handles like Thunderfoot 99 or Thunderfoot something. I used that quite a lot growing up. Thunderfoot was really a strong, iconic cinematic villain for me. So yeah, it was very, very big. But that's great. I swear someone should. Hey, you're the man to do it. But someone should write a book where a whole bunch of fans and actors and directors and all that good stuff write their stories on how they got into Kung Fu cinema, because some of it is truly interesting. And I know a lot of us share kind of the same story, but it's so interesting to hear exactly what people's first films are. I'm always interested in, and this is kind of a unique thing that people have, where some of the latecomers to martial arts cinema, they end up watching Scott Adkins's, I don't know, Undisputed 2, and then they have such a wealth of martial arts cinema to jump back into. They have to see all the classics, even obviously they have the Jackie Chan stuff and Bruce Lee and Sammo Hung, but they have not yet seen, I don't know, 5 Super Fighters or something like that. And it's just I envy that journey to a degree, but I'm very, very thankful that I got into it nice and early.
It's kind of interesting you say that, because sometimes some of us, I think we get a little cynical about martial arts movies being made today.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in Hong Kong, in the mainland.
Yeah.
We'd always talk about, oh, Hong Kong cinema's dead, and all that. And Thai action cinema died with Panavidikrai.
Yeah.
But
so.
but we need to support it, because if one of them can be successful, then that means that there's a new generation of fans that will enter and then seek out the old stuff.
Yes. It only takes that one film to hook someone. And if it happens to be a Hong Kong cinema film or whatever it may be, it's that we have to support these newer films. Otherwise, if they don't get the support, the genre is going to die. I mean, it's very easy sitting back and criticizing it, but those good films that do come out, you have to watch them. You have to support them. There's I don't know if you're familiar with the Hiya streaming service, but I've
heard of it, but I don't know if I have access to it here in Brazil.
Got you. It's a very, very strong streaming service. They have some really interesting titles, everything from the latest mainland stuff to stuff like Magic Cop, and so they kind of got a broad selection, but they've started slowly bringing over these modern mainland films from the streaming channels. These ones that are coming out, and granted that yeah, exactly. Aichi is the big one. There's duds. There's a lot of duds, but those gems that they get, I think it's worth. You have to log in. You have to watch them, because if you don't watch them and enjoy them, they're never going to get any more. If people aren't familiar out there, there's I struggle with his name. You might be able to say it better than I can. The child from My Father is a Hero. Is it Ji Miao?
Ji Miao.
Yeah. He is in quite a good few films at the moment. The Fight Against Evil 1 and 2 in particular. And if no one knows about these films, I do recommend them if you can find them. Fight Against Evil 1 and 2 are fantastic, as well as Eye for an Eye, A Blind Swordsman. The first one's currently out in the US on Blu-ray. I highly recommend it. But these films, more people need to set their eyes on, so more people buy the rights and get those good ones over here.
Didn't he do an Ip Man movie?
He did. Ip Man: The Awakening. Is that the one he did? Quite possibly. He did, and it was middling. It was fine. It wasn't terrible. It was maybe a little bit better than the Dennis To Ip Man film.
Okay. Did you ever see Ip Man and the Four Kings?
I did. Yes.
Yeah, that was kind of derivative. No, like the very first fight looked like it was ripped off from the Grandmaster.
Yeah. Yes. I think
he's in the rain with the hat on,
and that's become so iconic. I mean, even Steven Seagal ripped that off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I'd be happy if the Ip Man gimmick kind of fell away and we didn't get as many these days. I know that's kind of ironic, considering I could have gotten as many Wong Fei-hung films as I wanted. I love Wong Fei-hung, but I don't know. Ip Man just seems to have lost steam a little bit.
Yeah, I know. Part of me thinks that maybe the further back in time you go, kind of the more opportunity for variety and storytelling you have.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it just feels like such a farther bygone era that you can probably do more with it.
Yeah.
Whereas with Ip Man, I don't know, it always strikes me like, okay, you're gonna either fight some Chinese gang, some evil Japanese, or some uppity British fighter type thing.
Yes.
Some corrupt British cops or something.
Yeah.
It feels limited, kind of by the time frame those movies tend to be set.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting. You look back and you look at Wing Chun as a style, which obviously you have looked at, and it's just, if you look back at Wing Chun and how it was scattered throughout Kung Fu cinema in the 70s, 80s. I mean, there's Prodigal Son poster right there and a Warriors 2 poster right there. They're two prime examples of films that they. Oh, what have you got in your background there?
I'm actually in my daughter's bedroom, so we have Hanako-kun, which is the manga about the ghost boy in the toilet.
Okay.
And then the bottom one is Hu Tao, who is a character from Genshin Impact.
Wow.
Chinese-made online RPG game.
Oh.
And it's like set in like a bunch of continents that are just kind of, or a bunch of countries that are, they're basically represent real places. So this character is from not China and stuff like that.
Yes. I honestly, one of the things that I am totally blind on, video games. First, I know nothing about video games whatsoever. Manga and anime, I am very, very. I know very, very little about those. I would love to watch anime. The problem is, I am very, very picky about anime. It has to be very specific to my tastes. Otherwise, I don't care for it.
I was bit by the anime bug. I would say in the summer of my freshman year in high school.
Okay.
When one of my friends, she lent me a copy of Project Echo, which was kind of a parody.
Oh.
It was about a bunch of schoolgirls fighting each other, and one of them has superpowers, and the other is like super intelligent, so she makes like giant robots, and they're fighting over the friendship of another girl, and then it just kind of escalates from there, and there are just all these visuals that are like parodies of other 80s anime, and and from there, I watched the Street Fighter anime, I watched the Peacock King anime, and with anime, unless I'm watching something specific with my daughter, I usually stick to something that's more martial arts.
Yeah, me too. I prefer martial arts anime. Well, I have two things with anime. I either prefer martial arts anime with like fantastic fight scenes, or I just prefer and I'm going to be very careful the way I say this, I like very adult anime. And before anyone jumps to the conclusion, that is not hentai. I am not referring to hentai. I like things like Fist of the North Star. Very bloody, very gory, very over the top. Even stuff like Genocyber. And, I will watch Urotsukidoji, don't get me wrong. I have watched that. It's a lot, but yeah, some of that stuff I really enjoy. But I think with anime, I am very, very restricted to an extent. I have very particular tastes. Going back to Kung Fu cinema for a second, I think I have to ask the obvious question: do you have a favorite actor over the years?
I would say that as a fan, the one actor that I've always put on a pedestal was Huang Jingli.
Oh yeah, now you're talking.
If you like read any of my older reviews, I always preface his name with the title Legendary Super Kicker. And so it's like, all right, and Charlie Wei is practicing kung fu when he's confronted by an assassin named Thunderfoot, played by legendary super kicker Huang Jingli.
Yeah,
and I always use that preface, and when I used it when I was posting at the B movie message board back around 2010, and so I did it so much that other people started doing that in their reviews. If they had like a review site and they happened to review a movie with him in it, they would also preface him as legendary super kicker Huang Jingli.
Okay. That's really interesting, because even I use that now on Instagram when I'm making a post. I'll post Huang Zhangli clip or something. I'll be legendary super kicker or something along those lines. Huang Zhangli.
Yeah. I really like his work, and we know that there are some fans that always talk about who's authentic and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
And by authentic, I imagine they mean that they actually have some sort of real life full contact tournament experience, something that proves that they're the quote unquote real deal.
Yeah.
And Huang Zhengli was, as far as we know, the real deal. Expert
he killed a man.
Taekwondo.
Is
Yeah,
that true?
Yeah, that's the urban legend. The urban legend was that he was in Korea, he was in Vietnam training Korean soldiers, and a knife expert challenged him to a fight, and he said no, and then the guy came at him, and then he did a roundhouse kick, probably to the temple, and the guy died.
Crazy story.
Yeah.
Crazy if true. But it's something I hate to say this. I don't mean it in a negative way, but how am I going to say this politely? When you have someone who's known as a legendary super kicker, the fact they killed someone with a kick in real life, it's kind of like, oh, well, yeah, that kind of ties into him being a legendary super kicker. I mean, it's terrible. Someone's death is terrible, but it's kind of like, well, he is a super kicker, genuinely.
Right. And, he later did the documentary, The Art of High Impact Kicking. And, well, if he could do it in one kick, he knew what he was talking about.
Yeah. Do you know what? It was interesting you bring up that one. I ignored that film for the longest time, The Art of High Impact Kicking, because I just was like, oh, it's a tutorial. Why would I even watch a tutorial? So even though it was Huang Zhangli, who I enjoyed and really, really liked in all the films I watched, I purposely avoided that film as a teenager because I thought it was stupid.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a hold of a copy yet. Although I guess if it's on YouTube, I can. If someone's uploaded to YouTube at some point, I'll have to watch it.
Yeah. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. Do you have an extensive collection of physical media?
Yeah, I'm about 300 DVDs, give or take. Blu-rays here in Brazil are absurdly expensive, so I mainly just stick to DVDs. And it's hard because not a whole lot of stuff gets released here, and it's kind of stopped except for a couple of niche distributors. And so, for example, there's one niche distributor called Versatile Home Video, and they do lots of things. They do all sorts of things. They'll have, and they usually do it in collections. So they'll have like a collection of, Sam Peckinpah. They'll have a collection of, John Cassavetes. They'll have a collection of new. I think they have a series of collections for New Hollywood that are like 6 volumes already.
Oh, okay.
And so, and just stuff like that. And they do a lot of Japanese cinema, and about 3 years ago they started doing cinema kung fu, and they've only done 2 volumes, and I have those. And then I'm waiting for them to announce the 3rd volume. I even sent them an email offering to record material for them, but they weren't interested.
Nice. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, and they have Cinema Kung Fu Volume 1 was like Dragon Inn, Come Drink with Me, Raining on the Mountain by King Hu.
Okay.
8 Diagram Pole Fighter. Last Hurrah for Chivalry.
Oh, okay.
And One Arm Boxer. And then,
not an interesting mix, not a bad mix.
They often don't follow a specific theme, so it kind of feels all over the place. Some of these collections they do, and then the volume 2 was 5 Deadly Venoms, Crippled Avengers, Zoo Warriors from Magic Mountain, Duel to the Death, One Armed Boxer, and The Fate of Lee Khan.
Okay, again, an eclectic mix there.
Yeah, and they have another series of collections called Police Cinema, and a couple of months ago and it's usually like 70s, 80s, 90s cop movies. Okay, and a couple of months ago they announced Police Cinema Hong Kong, and so it's like Hong Kong. And this one's weird because a lot of them I would consider more triad movies. than
Got you.
police movies, but they have The Killer, Righting Wrongs, Moment of Romance, PTU, Long Arm of the Law, and one more. And there's one more that I'm forgetting. And
Interesting.
it's kind of cool because I've never seen Moment of Romance and I haven't seen PTU.
Yeah, that's to be honest, I was just looking at PTU last week. I actually haven't seen that either, and I was tempted to get a copy.
Yeah, I'm still learning about Johnny To. I've seen a handful of his movies.
Okay.
No, The Mission was good. Exiled was good. Election was fine, I guess. Full Time
Okay.
Killer was pretty good.
Yeah.
And no, go on.
Oh, so I was just going to say I'm on the same journey. I came very late to Johnny To, and I've probably seen 6 of his films, maybe. I'll be honest though, I will say Election and Election 2 blew me away. I really enjoyed those.
I need to watch Election 2. It actually got released here. I'll just have to pick up a copy.
Yeah, very good film. Very, very good film. Johnny To is certainly. You've seen, of course, Heroic Trio.
All right, I saw that in '97 on TNT when Tomorrow Never Dies was about to come out, and it was like maybe the weekend before. TNT on the Saturday night did a Michelle Yeoh threefer, and it was Heroic Trio, The Executioners, and Wing Chun.
Oof, quite the mix there. I just picked up the 4K Criterion release of Heroic Trio and Executioners. I rewatched Heroic Trio. Still great film, thoroughly enjoyable, very silly, very big, very good. Executioners I have not watched yet, but a lot of people are I've seen it before, but a lot of people are revisiting it and saying that it does not hold up. It's not as good as they used to think it was.
I would agree. It's a little. I mean, Hong Kong cinema we know can be downbeat, but I think that one was a little too downbeat, a little too bleak.
Yeah. I that's what a lot of people are saying. So, obviously, you are an avid. I imagine you're an avid watcher of martial arts cinema, but you're also an avid reviewer of Hong Kong cinema, right. Martial arts cinema. When did you get into kind of really reviewing and watching them with the intent of writing about them?
That kind of started as a little personal project around 2001. Back when I had this little Angel Fire webpage, and there was a website I liked called the Martial Artist Guide to Hong Kong Films, and it was a Chinese guy who had grown up watching kung fu movies, and he would watch a movie and give maybe about a 1 to 2 paragraph review, kind of talking more about the content of the martial arts itself, the quality of the fighting. And I was 19. Didn't have very many original ideas at that moment, so I kind of did this as a fun little thing for American martial arts movies.
Oh, okay.
Romeo Must Die, Shanghai Noon, The Rush Hours. I remember renting Rapid Fire and Laser Mission with Brandon Lee, and that kind of went on for a couple of months, and then I came here to Brazil on my religious mission, and that was from 2001 to 2003. And then when I got back, I got back in 2003, and it was around 2004 that I said, and it was around 2004 that turn off my cell phone. In 2004, I was, reading reviews at Kung Fu Cinema. I was reading reviews at Kung Fu Cinema, and I came to the conclusion that people need to stop hating on the movies I like.
Okay.
And I was tired of reading negative reviews of Black Sheep Affair with Vincent Chow, of Iron Monkey 2, of Crystal Hunt with Donnie Yen. So and Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, And so I decided to create my own. I created my own webpage at GeoCities called "It's a Beautiful Film Worth Fighting For."
Okay.
And it kind of started with reviewing movies. It was the first reviews were movies that I liked that nobody else did.
Okay.
And then it just kind of evolved to just to whatever I felt like reviewing at the moment. And
That's awesome.
that went from 2004 to 2006. And then 2006, I kind of stopped actively reviewing so I could write my first book, which was in Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
And then the book project didn't work out. So in 2009, I contacted a friend, Nathan Shoemate. He used to run a place called Cold Fusion Video, which reviewed B movies. It was one of kind of the big B movie sites at the turn of the millennium. And I contacted him. He was still active, and he kind of had an umbrella of like sister sites. So he kind of recreated It's a Beautiful Film Worth Fighting For under his umbrella. And so I went back to reviewing, and that went for about 4 years.
Oh.
And then there was a catastrophic server crash, and everything was lost.
Oh, wow, that sucks.
Yeah, you can access his old stuff through the Wayback Machine. About half of my old stuff is on the Wayback Machine on archive.org, but there were a lot of reviews that I stupidly wrote directly to the browser, and I didn't save a copy on Microsoft Doc. So there are reviews that were just lost, like Bodyguards and Assassins, the first Swordsman movie. There were just a handful of them that I just cannot get back.
Yeah, that's a shame. Yeah. That's terrible.
And after that, I kind of just stuck with reviewing for like the B movie message board, and then later Kung Fu Cinema, the Kung Fu fandom.
Yeah,
that was about that time that I started the monthly mutual review threads.
Yep.
And I did that basically until 2021. Just reviewing for those readers, for the members there.
Yeah.
And then I decided to resurrect It's a Beautiful Film Worth Fighting For. And I did that at Blogspot. So.
And the rest is history. It's still up and running now, right?
Yeah, that's basically my story on Twitter or X, is that I'm like the obnoxious guy who anytime anyone comments about a movie posts about a movie that I happen to have a review of, I'll say, "Oh, that was a great film," or "I thought it was okay." Link.
Well, I don't think you're alone there. I think there's plenty of people that do that. But yeah, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, and then go on.
No, I was just going to say, so as a reviewer and as a storied reviewer, obviously you've been doing it for a long time. I have recently started writing for a website, or I should say contributing. I guess it's not writing. I do write, but contributing. I've been contributing to filmcombatsyndicate.com. And I've written one review, and I've written a bunch of kind of articles here and there. But I want, if there's one thing I want to do, it's more reviews. I love reviewing films. I adore reviewing films. I adore writing. It's so much fun. The problem I find is I just cannot find the time to watch the movies I want to review. So my question to you would be, how many martial arts cinema films do you manage to squeeze in a week? Or do you have specific times where you sit down and watch them? Or do you have like a set schedule?
No, it goes kind of basically when I have time.
Yeah.
I work until 5 o'clock, and then, I have to do housework and make sure my daughter is doing her homework and stuff like that. And then, if things are calm enough, I'll sit down and watch a movie. My wife, she isn't really the type to use the television a lot.
Oh, okay.
And she's also working on her master's, so she has usually in the office doing her stuff.
Yes.
And so I don't have much competition for the TV.
Okay.
I just need the time.
Yeah.
And so I can watch about 4 to 5 movies a week, sometimes about 6.
Okay.
If I'm doing well. And I just have a compulsion that as soon as I finish watching the movie, I need to be on the computer writing about it.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't have that. And by that, I mean, once I watch a movie, I kind of just want to chill with it and kind of think about it and absorb it. And I don't have the get up and go to go and write a review instantly. I'd love to have that. I'd love to have that like passion to just get up and do it. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just lazy.
No, but I mean, it comes at a cost in that it's hard for me to watch series. I can do movies, but doing series is not an easy thing for me to do. It requires kind of like, oh, you need to watch Marco Polo. Okay, at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
It's not easy. I have to exercise a lot of personal restraint to be able to watch a series, and usually it's like, for example, I watched the Camp Cretaceous Jurassic Park cartoon. That's one of the only series I've actually watched in the last few years, and I only did that because I would like synchronize that with when I was ironing clothes.
Okay.
So ironing out laundry is going to take 2.5 hours. Okay, I'm going to watch as many episodes as I can fit in.
That's a good time. It's a good way to spend time. It's an interesting thing when you say you don't get to squeeze in many shows. I think we're definitely a movie family in this house. We're definitely we lean more towards movies, though recently we have tried to start squeezing shows in, very specific shows. My wife at the moment is sitting down and watching Breaking Bad for the first time. Obviously, I'm watching it with her, but I have seen it before. We've just started White Lotus, for example. So we kind of come late to shows, but more often than not, when we sit down, it'll be a case of what movie do we want to watch? Unfortunately, with my wife not exactly being a huge martial arts cinema fan, although I'm slowly winning her over, it's very rare that she sits down and says, let's watch Shaolin Red Master.
Yeah, I've noticed from your podcasts, from your other episodes, like her commentary is getting steadily more insightful with each episode.
Yep. I'm so excited. I love it. I love that she's kind of being able to, she starts throwing out phrases like shapes and forms and starts recognizing weapons more. It's very exciting.
If you were my friend back in the 90s, you were guaranteed to either be made to watch a Hong Kong movie or a Godzilla movie.
Nice.
I got two of my, when I was a lot younger before the Jackie Chan came around, I got at least two of my neighbors into Godzilla.
Okay.
And then one of them, who's kind of like my little brother, I got him into Hong Kong movies too. So like when I was off on my mission as a missionary here in Brazil, he'd send me letters and say, "Oh, while you're over there in Brazil, and I'm over here, and I picked up copies of The Blade and A Man Called Hero." I'm like, yeah, preach, brother.
Yeah, it's always nice to have that solidarity with someone. I had a childhood friend who, quite funny. I got into kung fu movies first, and I kind of brought him under my wing. Even though I was kind of still new to the genre, we started watching the films together. And for some bizarre reason, I would start buying lots of VHS kung fu films, and he would buy a few here and there, but sometimes he got a few duds. And when he got a dud, it kind of knocked him back a little bit, and he was kind of reluctant to get anymore. One of the ones he bought, I remember, was, oh damn, I'm gonna forget the name. It's the Carter Wong film. that's focused on fatal flying guillotines. Is it called just Fatal Flying Guillotine?
Yes. Fatal
Oh,
Flying
okay.
Guillotines.
I think yes. He bought that one and he wasn't very happy with that one. I remember that specifically.
I actually like that one.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
I mean, as far as Carter Wong, he doesn't have like the best reputation among fans, but he was pretty solid in that one compared to other things I've seen him in.
Yeah, he's not great, but sometimes when he puts in the work, I actually recently watched 18 Bronzemen and Return of the 18 Bronzemen again, and they're both very, very solid. I enjoy him in both of those, although he will never, ever top his performance in Born Invincible.
Yeah, I need to rewatch it. That's been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah, it's an absolute gem. I'd love to do Born Invincible for the podcast. And unfortunately, my wife does not love dubbed films. She likes it subtitled. But you kind of have to watch Born Invincible dubbed just to hear Carter Wong's dub. It's that bonkers. So I think I'm going to have to kind of persuade her to watch the dub of that and listen to his maniacal, high-pitched laughing.
I would say about this is. I've been watching dubs since Godzilla, which was I started in the second grade, so I've more or less used to it. It's just second nature to watch a dub.
Yeah,
and I would say 9 out of 10 kung fu movies have tolerable dubs. They're like only a handful.
Oh yeah,
where maybe they have a voice that like irritates to the point of like distraction.
Yeah. I love dubs. I love dubs.
They have great lines, especially when they're using profanity. It just works.
It's fantastic. I won't repeat the line because it's kind of harsh, but there is a dub for Ninja in the Dragon's Den, and some of the cursing they come out with in that film is insane.
Wasn't like you ugly, stupid skunk effer.
That's absolutely right. Yes. He calls someone since you've pretty much said it, he calls someone a skunk fucker, and also I believe he says cocksucker at some point, which is kind of raw. So kind of surprising for a kung fu movie, but a very guilty pleasure delight to hear that.
Yeah, I was always a huge fan of the dub of Snake and Crane Arts of Shaolin.
Mm-hmm.
With Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
And my friends and I, or one of my friends, this friend was the one that helped me create the classics list. Him and I would always like walk around quoting Drunken Master, the original dub. We quoted the Return of the Dragon dub, which was really funny, and Game of Death, which wasn't quite a dub, but it had some choice lines in it.
Yes.
So
yeah, it was always fun to quote dubs.
Yeah, when I started my current project, the fanzine, I was watching some movies from 1970 from the first issue, and there were a couple of movies that I think they were made in 1970, but they weren't dubbed until the 1980s, when Ocean Shores started exporting movies to the States, and those were some really, really bad dubs. Those were there were some painful ones.
Yeah, there's some out there. I believe I'm not going to spoil it, but I will say this: soon, I'll just say soon, I am going on someone's podcast, and I'm talking about 2 films, and I am talking about the Buddha Assassinator, or the Buddha Assassinator, and I'm also talking about Incredible Kung Fu Mission, which has a very, very famous dub.
I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, it's a bonkers dub. Looking forward to revisiting those films. Just because you mentioned it, and I know we're almost going to an hour, and I don't want to keep you too long, but I do want to talk about your project. We're going to talk about two upcoming things, or not two upcoming things, but two things you've worked on. One is the fanzine, and we'll talk about that, and then one is about an unpublished. Oh, look, that's a hard word for me to say. Unpublished book that you've written. So tell us a little bit more about the fanzine.
Okay. After I published It's All About the Style, I was kind of adrift in terms of what my next writing project would be.
Mm-hmm.
I had at one point I had plans on doing one about Yuan Wo-ping. I had plans of doing one about Donnie Yen. I had, for the longest time, I had one that I had a project and a partial manuscript for a book about the Hong Kong Film Award for Best Action Design.
Oh, okay.
But that was one of the ones where I would have needed more connections. Just to kind of explain more about how maybe the voting happens.
Yeah.
And I connections I didn't have, and I don't speak Cantonese, so it would have been really hard.
Right.
So I was always trying to figure out what my next project would be. And at one point, this was around 2019, 2020, I had an idea of a set of books called the Dragon and Tiger Annals, which would basically kind of be like an encyclopedia per decade. And so like this, I'd start with the 70s, the Dragon and Tiger Annals, and then the 80s would be called the Snake and Crane Annals, and then the 90s would be the Panther Annals, and then I just use a bunch of animals, the eagle and mantis one, and so on. And it kind of would have been a compilation of all my reviews plus more. So it would kind of cover the history of the genre through reviews.
Yeah.
And I was working on the 70s volume, and it was getting extremely big.
Okay.
And
I imagine.
And it was just ginormous. It was a lot bigger than It's All About the Style. And so finally I eventually decided just to break it up. Okay, I'll do it in fanzine form. I have two friends that do fanzines, so I can figure out how to do this. And I broke it up, and then I just started the Martial Arts Movies Almanac. Kind of started with 1970 because stuff from the 60s is kind of hard to find here in Brazil. I'd have to invest a lot in bootlegs, and I'm not always comfortable doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, I'll start with 1970, and then just kind of and then I decided bi-monthly, every 2 months will be an issue, and it'll be 1 year. So 1970, issue 2 is 1971, issue 3, 1972, and so on and so forth. And so I'm finishing up issue 5, which is 1974.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about, kind of Sonny Chiba in the karate movies, Changches, Shaolin Cycle.
Nice.
A handful of different bashers. Mr. Shatter with Stuart Whitman.
Okay.
And
very nice.
TNT Jackson, have a little bit of blaxploitation in there.
Oh, so you're kind of going all over the place. It's not just Hong Kong cinema.
No, not just Hong Kong. We're doing general martial arts and Japanese. I have some friends that are also authors, and they write articles and write-ups as well.
Okay.
They've published martial arts fiction, but they're big fans of the genre, so they also contribute. And like one of them did a 3-part article on something Kuike. He's the mangaka who did Lone Wolf and Cub, Lady Snowblood, and Hanzo the Razor. He did the manga for that. And so he did a 3-part article for the movies that were based off the guy's manga that were made in 72, then 73, and then 74.
Okay.
So it'd be like,
Nice.
In 72, you had the first 4 Lone Wolf and Cubs plus Hanzo the Razor. And then 73, you had 1 Lone Wolf and Cub, 1 Hanzo the Razor, Lady Snowblood, and the Lone Wolf and Cub TV series.
It's a hell of a lineup.
Yeah, and then 74 was the last Lone Wolf and Cub movie. The Lone Wolf and Cub series continued. The third and last Hanzo the Razor film, and then the second Lady Snowblood movie.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Awesome. That's a hell of a project. And how would people get hold of this fanzine?
it's on Amazon. It's available both in print and as Kindle. So, if you're the type of person who doesn't want to depend on technology, you can get a physical copy of it to put on your bookcase. I've also started working on issue 6, which is for 1975.
Okay.
I recently rewatched The Killing Machine with Sonny Chiba, and Return of the Sister Street Fighter and Bruce Lee We Miss You with Bruce Lee.
Quite a lineup of stars there. Funny enough, I'm just dipping my toes into Sonny Chiba. I confess to everyone, and I'm sorry if this makes me less of a martial arts cinema fan, but I am a Chiba Philistine, and I'm just dipping my toes into him now. In a few weeks, we are covering the Street Fighter on the podcast. We're all gonna watch that, which will be very interesting because we don't do a ton of old school Japanese cinema. But I just what did I just purchase? I just pre-ordered. It's coming out on Blu-ray over here. Karate Bullfighter and Karate, is it Bear Fighter as well?
Yes, Bear Fighter. Yeah, both of those were from 75.
Yeah, I just pre-ordered those. I'm excited to watch those, and I want to go back and watch the Street Fighter movies again. I actually watched Sister Street Fighter a while back, and I really, really enjoyed them. And what else did I? Oh, I just bought that's it. That's what it is. I bought the Executioner 1 and 2 double pack with Chiba.
Have you seen the second one yet?
I have not seen the second one yet. No, it's on my list. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
I haven't seen the Executioner films yet. Scott Blasingame, known as Shaolin Dude at Kung Fu Fandom, he supplied me with a review of the Executioner for this latest issue.
Nice.
Whereas I did the 3 Street Fighter movies and the 2 sister Street Fighter movies. That were released in 74.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see what your wife is going to say about the first Street Fighter movie.
Me too. I have seen it. I saw it. So just a full disclosure to everyone, I know I'm saying I'm dipping my toes into Chiba. I watched the Street Fighter quite some time ago, and I recall really enjoying it. But it's kind of a film for some reason that went in one ear and went out the other. I've forgotten about it, which is very strange. Usually I'm pretty good at retaining things. But I'm definitely looking forward to rewatching it. But for my wife, I think it will be a very, very interesting trip. It's got that kind of exploitation vibe to it, and we don't really do kind of an exploitation. We tend to, even if anything, we tend to avoid exploitation. I think the only extreme exploitive film we've done is the recent film, The Sadness, the Taiwan film, which we reviewed the Halloween before last, and it's the only film my wife has walked out of, and she refused to watch it with me, and she refused to do the episode.
Because in Japan in the late 60s, movie watching in Japan was like falling off. It was like a steep decline because of television. Yeah. And so, by the 70s, Daiei, who did the Zatoichi movies, they were going belly up. Yeah. And so, they started doing more exploitive films so that they could bring in people, show things that you couldn't show on TV. So that's why you had Nikatsu doing the Pinku Roman Porno movies. Yeah. Toho, they helped distribute the Lone Wolf and Cub movies, which were, ultra violent. Yeah. You had all those girl boss and women and female prisoner scorpion type movies.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you just get these movies that would like mix action, sometimes martial arts action with sleaze, and sometimes in the same scene. So you'd have like Bohachi Bushido, which had like a bunch of naked ninjas fighting the guy, or Sex and Fury, which had a naked girl fighting a bunch of guys. And they just were not afraid to just pile it on.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I love that stuff. Not for the reason everyone thinks. I just love its kind of outlandishness. There's nothing better. For example, I'm sure everyone's seen it. For those that aren't necessarily knee deep in Japanese cinema and are more Hong Kong people, the scene with Alice Tseng fighting a bunch of ninjas while she's in the nude in Ninja: The Final Duel is it's a masterpiece.
There at the Kung Fu Fandom thread, there is a thread open at the forum. There's a thread about nude fighting, and so
I think I posted in there a few times.
Yeah, I've updated it on times where I've run across stuff, just through my own experiences. TNT Jackson, the blaxploitation film, which was made in the Philippines, it had a naked fighting scene in it.
Wow. Yeah.
There's the infant. If you remember Top Fighter 2, Deadly China Dolls, the documentary.
Yes.
They had a scene from Escape from the Brothel, which was Sophia Crawford versus Billy Chow.
Oh wait. It's Sophia Crawford, right?
Yeah, Sophia Crawford.
Yes.
And there was a scene from a film called Hero Dream with Chin Karlok, Chin Siu Ho, their brothers, and Michiko Nishiwaki.
Okay.
And there's a scene where Michiko Nishiwaki, she's like in a bikini and she's fighting a naked girl.
Ah, good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, you gotta applaud that. It's magical, and that, everyone, is the beauty and magic of Hong Kong cinema, Hong Kong action cinema, martial arts cinema. Sometimes you just get some wild shit, and it's fun. It's thoroughly enjoyable. I mean, this is what the genre has to offer. Whether it's naked ladies, crazy fights, crazy weapons, ninjas on giant spiders, whatever you want, it's out there. It's out there.
Yeah, and Swordsman too. You had ninjas flying around on giant shurikens.
Yes, that's great. See, oh my god, this genre is good. Damn good genre.
Oh yeah, lots of great. I once told, after I watched Zoo, Where's the Magic Mount for the first time, I told a friend, who needs drugs when you have like Hong Kong fantasy?
Absolutely. It's some of it's absolutely wild. And then if you go really nuts and go to films like The Boxer's Omen and things like that, you really end up going to a weird place. And if anyone doesn't know, if you go into Shaw Brothers kind of Hong Kong horror realm,
oh man,
you get some wacky stuff there.
I have the Versatile Home Video. They have a series of box sets called Masterpieces of Horror in Portuguese. And they've had like 3 or 4 Japanese volumes, just for Japanese movies. They have for Gothic Italian movies, and at the last year they had Asian horror, and it had 2 Korean horror movies and 4 Hong Kong movies, which was Chinese Ghost Story, Human Lanterns, Bewitched, and Seeding of a Ghost. And those last 2 are Shaw films.
Yes.
And man, those were strong.
Yeah. They're magical, and that's before you even dip into Cat 3 films. Cat 3 films go wild. Yeah. So it's a wonderful place.
And they actually announced Asian Horror Volume 2, and which is going to have Black Magic 2. And Boxer's Omen.
Nice. That's a hell of a marathon. Imagine sitting through those 3 in a row. That would be crazy.
Oh man, my brain would melt out my nose.
It would definitely be extreme. So Just to mention the unpublished book that we have spoken about, can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, that was my first project. I started in 2006. It was called
Mhm.
55 Fights in Peking, and it was supposed to be the 55 best fights in Chinese cinema. And you know, I I worked on the manuscript from 2006 until 2008,
Mhm.
and I had found a publisher, but because of the way books work in Brazil, is that many publishers ask you to foot the bill for the first edition,
Yes.
because there isn't as big a reading public, and
Yep.
books are stupid expensive here. Like,
Yeah.
you pay maybe $40 to $50 reals for a book, which if you translate to dollars, it's not that much, but as a percentage of the local minimum wage, it's a lot.
Mhm. Yeah.
So publishing books is a bigger gamble. And there was this publisher who said that he specialized in books about Asian wisdom or Eastern wisdom. So a book about martial arts movies was tangentially, but at least Asian enough that he could do it.
Right.
But I didn't
Right.
at the time. I didn't have the money, and so it went unpublished. And
Okay.
and so I made this list of the 55 best fights, basically between 68 and 2007, which is
Mhm.
when I would have finished the first draft of the manuscript. And if you want to, and it's hard because when you do something like this,
Yeah.
there's always the temptation to do something like this. Jackie Chan, Lau Kar Leung, Yuen Wu Ping, Sammo Hung. Jackie Chan, Lau Kar Leung, Yuen Wu
Yes.
Ping, Sammo Hung.
Yeah.
Jackie Chan,
Yeah.
Corey Yuen, Lau Kar Leung, Sammo Hung.
Yeah.
And so I often found myself making little sacrifices so that I could maybe get someone else's work in.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think that's the right way to look at it. Granted, you have many instances where Yuan Wu Ping is a legend and has made a legendary fight scene that stands out more than any other, but you definitely need variety on there. I think that's a great
Yeah.
way of looking at it.
Yeah. So, for example, the first fight on the list was Sword of Swords from 1968. It was a Jimmy Wang Yu film,
Mm-hmm.
and in the final fight is this bloodbath where he takes just two knives and kills about 80 people.
You introduced me to it just the other day. I've never seen this film. I had heard of it, but I'd never seen this film. And you sent the clip to me. And guys, if you have not seen it, it absolutely blew my socks off. It was incredible.
And it's like you can't have a book like this without Jimmy Wang Yu. But,
yeah.
But we know that his on-screen skills could be limited. So after watching, One Arm Boxer, Master of the Flying Guillotine, and several others, I'm like, Sword of Swords. This is fun. This is crazy. This has the epicness of a Lone Wolf and Cub movie. Okay, I'll put this one in.
Does the last 45 minutes of Beach of the War Gods count as one fight scene?
I tend to count them by set pieces. So even if a single set piece has several individual fights, I'll count it, which is kind of what I did with like Millionaires Express.
Okay.
So we have Return Way of the Dragon, Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of goes without saying. Just kind of classic one-on-one.
Yes, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. 1974, Call Me Dragon, Bruce Leong or Leung Siu Long versus Yasuaki Kurata.
Great.
This is 10-minute kick fest. Roundhouse kicks, side kicks, spin kicks to the head, crescent kicks, and then Tonfa versus Nunchaku at the end.
Is that one, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the one where they they do run to like 5 different locations and fight in each different location?
Yeah, that's like they start fighting, they run in front of a church, they climb up a wall on top of the church, they jump down, they run into the forest.
Good stuff.
And basher movies, I enjoy them, but if you don't have a good actor, then you can have like really weak kicks. You have kicks that struggle to go above the belt level, and then you have Bruce Lung Siu Long just tears it apart with the head kicks in this. So
yeah.
Next we have Super Inframan, the finale, which is just pure insanity.
This is an interesting choice, though. I can see people, I don't mean this in any kind of negative way, but I can see people kind of being negative towards this one and saying that it doesn't deserve a spot on the list. Now, I absolutely love the Super Inframan. I love it more than so many other kind of big tokusatsu films, if you can count it as that, even though it's Hong Kong. But I absolutely adore it. And I love all the action sequences. We did it for the podcast. It blew me away. My co-host didn't love it. So I would understand, but I can see how some people are like, well, it's not exactly the best fight-wise. It's not the greatest fight scene, but conceptually, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I wanted to have a Tong Gai, a fight from choreographer Tong Gai.
Yeah.
Tang Jia. And I had considered doing one of the ones from Shaolin Intruders, like maybe the bench fight with the abbot.
Yeah.
But I ended up just going with this one just because it was so over the top. Because Tong Gai, he's known for his wuxia films. He does the exotic weapons. And this one has exotic weapons, but just not in the way you imagine it, because you have like robots with maces for heads that they can shoot off with springs. So you have exotic weapons, which is his forte. It's just done in a completely bonkers way.
It's certainly inventive, and one of the most inventive you'll see from that era. That's for sure.
Yeah. The next one was the Himalayan. Sammo Hung and Han Ying, the main villain from The Big Boss. They choreographed Tan Tao Liang, Angela Mao versus Chan Sing. So this one was kind of a boot. It was kind of two kickers versus a tiger claw.
I've never seen this film. I'm so ashamed to say I've never seen the Himalayan.
Opinions on it vary because it really, most of the action until the end is mainly from Chan Sing. So there's not a whole lot of fighting from Tan Tao Liang or Angela Mao. And so I think that's why a lot of people don't like it quite as much.
Yeah.
But it has a good story, good costumes, and then just the finale to me is just phenomenal.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out.
Then we have The Secret Rivals, Tommy Lee choreographing Wang Tao, Zhang Liu versus legendary super kicker Huang Zhongli.
So good.
Yeah. And this one kind of has the same virtues as Call Me Dragon. It's just this smorgasbord of head kicking from three people who just knew how to do it.
Yeah.
Wang Tao is interesting because he was a Taekwondo champion. Taekwondo very kick heavy, but he was cast as the Southern Fist Master
every time.
And he grew into it. So So in the first Secret Masters, he does a lot of kicking, but as he got more of these Shaolin roles, he would do more hand-based styles.
Yeah, I was just watching the final fight of Snake in the Eagle Shadow 2. I don't know its actual title. It's
Snaky Fight. No, is it Snaky Fist Fights Mantis? I think.
Yeah. And he's doing all kinds of hand shapes in that, and it's great stuff.
Yeah, if you remember the movie Death Duel in Kung Fu.
Yeah, one of my favorites. I love that film.
Yeah, he does a Mantis style in that one.
Yep. Yeah, I love that film. I actually need to revisit it. I absolutely adore that film.
Yeah. And I recently revisit. I was scrolling through Facebook and random fight scenes show up on the Facebook videos, and there was one, and there was his fight with Donnie Yen from Drunken Tai Chi, and that was really good.
Yeah, that's a film I really need to revisit as well, because I am someone who says they do not like Drunken Tai Chi. I'm not a big fan of it, but a lot of people have kind of persuaded me to rewatch it.
Yeah, a lot of people have problems with the shenanigans in that one.
Yeah. There's a lot of them.
Yeah. Okay, moving on, we have Game of Death, Bruce Lee, the Pagoda fight.
I mean, enough said on that one. I think that
Yeah.
would be the top of people's lists, a lot of people's lists.
Okay, then we have Heroes of the Orient, or Heroes of the East. Lau Kar-leung choreographing Gordon Liu and Yasuaki Kurata, Kung Fu versus Ninjutsu.
Crab style.
Crab style, crane style.
Good stuff.
And one of the things I liked was that the Japanese crab technique. And one of the things I liked was that if you pay attention, the spear and sword styles that Yasuaki Kurata uses, they're like a bit different than from what the other masters used in the earlier scenes. Because
yes,
Gordon Liu had already fought a sword kendo master. He fought a spear guy, and then Yasuaki Kurata uses both of those, but he does it in different ways. He uses different stance work. When Gordon Liu fights, the kendo master uses the two-edged straight sword, the Jian, but when he fights Yasuaki Kurata-san, he uses the saber, the Dao. So some different techniques involved, and that was
absolutely
just a really good way to take something that you already did and put the new twist on it.
Lau Kar-leung knew what he was doing. He was in his choreography. He was not only was he a fantastic a master of movement, but he was, as far as concepts and complexities, he was deeper than people give him credit for. He had so much nuance to his fight scenes. It's incredible.
And you think about like a movie like Fist of the White Lotus, Planet of the White Lotus. You have three different fights between Gordon Liu and Lo Lie, and yet each of them has their own distinctive mark.
Yep.
First time is pure hungar. The second time it's it's the soft female style.
Right.
And then it's with the acu needles. It doesn't become repetitive.
No, not at all. I absolutely love that film. That is close to being my favorite Shaw film. It might be my favorite Shaw film.
Oh, it's a great film.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. We have Knockabout, Sammo Hung and Yun Biao versus Lau Kar-wing.
Can't argue with this one. It's
great. The
fantastic fight scene.
You have Yun Biao and his kicks and flexibility, and then you have him and Sammo doing the monkey style, which is just insane.
Yeah,
it's hilarious, but it's crazy what even Sammo can do.
Oh yeah, the flexibility and speed on him is crazy.
Yeah, and then Lau Kar-wing doing his doing kind of a snake style with the pipe.
Yeah.
And it's just pure choreography goodness there.
Yeah, some people might criticize that film for its hijinks and shenanigans, but it's an incredible film.
Yeah. Then we have Drunken Master, Jackie Chan versus Huang Zhongli, the finale.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorites. I've always, I think after the second time I watched the film, it just ingratiated itself to me.
Yeah. That was from an early age. That was one of my favorites.
Then we have Hell's Wind Staff, which was one of the Drunken Master clones. And it's Meng Hui and Meng Yuan Mun versus Wen Jingli.
Meng Hui, underrated.
Oh, he's great.
Really, he's fantastic. He's got it all. He can choreograph, he can fight, and he had that kind of cheeky, boyish charm about him.
I kind of feel bad that he didn't do as much martial arts in front of the screen after the modern era came.
Yeah.
After they got to the modern kickboxing, he might do a move or two in Yes Madam, or a couple of moves in Encounter of the Spooky Kind too. But he never cut loose like he did in the old school days. He was mainly doing stuff behind the camera.
Yeah, he kind of disappeared a little bit. And oh, by the way, anyone out there that's watching this, if you have a copy of Encounters of the Spooky Kind 2 that you may want to send my way, just saying that I've never seen. Yes, I've never seen that film, and I'm itching to see it. So yeah, if you happen to have an MP4, you can send my way. I don't believe in piracy. Piracy is a terrible thing, but in this case.
All right, then we have Kung Fu versus Yoga. which was, Alan Choi and Chinuit Sung versus Dunpar Singh. And that was one of the ones where I just kind of put the 3 different fights into one, because that's just pure insanity what that dude could do.
It really is, and a lot of people do not consider this film. They don't even think about it in the modern kung fu cinema lexicon. People don't bring this up.
And it's crazy because you have these. They're fighting because, first of all, Alan Choi, Chinuit Song, they're talented choreographers and they're talented on screen.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this contortionist.
Yeah.
And he does, and Meng Hoi, he choreographed the fight. And so it's not only being able to work with a contortionist, but figuring out, saying, all right, this is the scope of the man's abilities. What am I going to have him do?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, it's one thing to have him maybe do a vertical front kick. It's another thing to have him wrap his left leg around his neck, lay it on his right shoulder, and then move his body to kick the person.
Yeah, the level of fight choreography that has to go into it, it's like it's beyond the usual stuff. It's great. So smart.
Yeah. That's followed by Shaolin Rescuers from '79, Robert Tai, Lu Feng, and Chiang Sheng.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted a Robert Tai fight because Robert Tai,
of course,
he enjoys a special place in the hearts of old school fans.
Yeah.
And this one was hard because I was always looking for the perfect Venoms fight.
Yes.
And in my mind, the perfect Venoms fight was one that would a single set piece that would show off all of their skills.
Yes.
Acrobatics, exotic weapons, Lo Meng's Southern Mantis style,
Mm-hmm.
Sun Qian's kicking, and it's hard to find a single set piece that has all of those. There are only a few, and and so it kind of came down to the finale of Crippled Avengers.
Yes.
This one, Invincible Shaolin, and then Brave Archer Part 3. And I had to decide between those 4.
Okay.
And I went with this one because it had Lo Meng doing his Southern Mantis. It had Chiang Sheng and Philip Kwok doing their acrobatics and their exotic weapons and some object fu.
Mm-hmm.
And Sun Qian is the hardest one because he doesn't always get a good showcase in the movies.
He doesn't.
And so for example, he has a good one in 5 Deadly Venoms in the finale.
Yeah.
But Lo Meng isn't there. And then he in Crippled Avengers, he only fights at the very, very, very end against Chen Quan Tai. And a lot of movies he gets killed even before the climax.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going Shaolin Rescuers because it had all 5 of them. And then he doesn't do as much, but he at least gets to fight on top of a bunch of poles and show off his balance. So it was the closest I got to the perfect Venom fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to revisit Shaolin Rescuers. I haven't seen it for a while, but I recall it being a wonderful film.
Yeah. And it was while I was doing this book that I actually started investigating the Venoms. Because I had seen 5 Deadly Venoms as a teenager, and it didn't blow me away. I think too much into modern Jackie Chan and Jet Li. But rewatching it, I appreciate it a lot more now. And,
Right.
Sometimes we, when we're younger and we're getting into things, there are things that are classics, but they don't appeal to us at that moment. And then when we mature.
Yeah, I despise. I mean, I'll flat out say it. I despised Bashers, to the extent as I also despised films like Heroes 2 and the Chang'e Shaolin Cycle films because I felt there. I liked the fact that they showed Tiger Claw and they showed the actual styles, but I always felt they were too slow and too clunky. And I just because I liked not modern, but 1970 late 70s kind of fast shapes. And now, honestly, I think the Shaolin Temple. Oh, actually, I know I said earlier that Clan of White Lotus might be my favorite short film. the Shaolin Temple, the 1976 Chang Cheh film, may
Right.
be my favorite kung fu film in general.
Oh, that has a 29-minute finale.
It's a wonderful, wonderful finale.
I mean, that's like maybe right behind Beach of the War Gods.
Yes, yeah, really. It's one. I love that film. I absolutely love it. It's got everyone in it as well. There's so many recognizable faces.
Yeah, it's a good film. We have Magnificent Butcher, and this is where you and I will kind of diverge on, because I know you're a huge fan of the Lam Ching Ying fight.
I am.
And I went for Sammo versus Li Hui San.
I can't argue. I mean, it's a wonderful fight scene, but for some odd reason, to me, Lam Ching Ying against Yun Biao, and it's absolute visual poetry to me. It's perfect.
When I was back in the 90s, we had 2 VCRs in my house, and sometimes I had a blank tape that I would record individual fight scenes onto.
Nice. Yeah.
And it was my famous fight scene compilation that I would show to my friends and whatnot. And to be honest, the fight that actually put on that one for Magnificent Butcher, because I had the Tai Seng VHS, was actually the Lam Ching Ying Yun Biao fight. Wonderful footwork. Wonderful footwork in it.
Also, Lam Ching Ying with the fan is just unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, he just, and the cheeky concepts in it, like where he hides his foot behind the fan and kicks in. Just like clever, smart, beautiful movements. I don't know why it just hits a special point in me. I love that. I love it.
I think that the Magnificent Butcher, kind of like Drunken Master 2 and Fist of Legend, are the types of movies where all the fights are so good that if anyone says, "Oh, my favorite fight is this," or X fight in this movie belongs in the classics, you can make a good argument for practically any fight in the movie.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, wonderful stuff.
All right, then we have The Challenger. Huang Ha choreographing David Chiang,
so underrated.
Norman Choi, and Philip Ko.
Yeah. So, question to you: how did you choose this over the Loot? Did you have a tough decision battling between those two?
That's a good question. No, I don't know. I think it stuck with me better. There was just something about because there's this moment in the final fight of The Challenger where like they first the 2 heroes, they take turns. First it's Norman Choi, and then it's David Chiang.
Yeah.
And then they team up. And so it's like when Norman Choi attacks Philip Ko, he like starts using I think he uses the Eagle Claw.
Yeah.
But then when David Chiang comes in, David Chiang has a different style, and he starts beating the Eagle Claw. Philip Ko switches to the Snake.
Great.
And then when both of them double team him, he has the Eagle Claw on one hand and the Snake on the other, and he's like fighting them out. It's just pure genius.
Yes, I love it. I need to revisit The Challenger as well. I haven't seen that in so long. I rewatched The Loot not too long ago, but The Challenger is kind of one that's on my radar. I love Philip Ko. He's one of my favorites.
He shows up in a lot of these fights on the list. All right, then we have Shaolin Temple against Lama, and this is one that I kind of regret in retrospect.
Okay.
It was Alexander Lo Ray versus Alan Choi, choreographed by Alan Choi. To those of you who don't know, he played the laughing villain in Last Hero in China with Jet Li.
Yeah.
He's also in Incredible Kung Fu Mission, as you remember.
Yes.
And I wanted to include a fight that had someone doing like the Qigong Invincible Armor style. And I also wanted to have something representative of Alexander Lo Ray. So I went with this one. And it's a good fight.
It is good.
But if I were to re-edit the book for today, I would switch this out and put in Vincent Zhao and Andy On in True Legend.
Really? Oh, do you know what? Is it the one? Which fight scene in that? Which one?
it's the one where he already has the armor sewed onto his body, and he has to fight him before his wife suffocates. And then they end up fighting in a room. They go into a well filled with poisonous snakes and keep fighting. And then they go out of the well and keep fighting. And it's just this wonderful choreography. You have an interesting interpretation of the art of the iron armor technique, which is literally sewing armor to your body. And Vincent Zhao finds a novel way of disarming him.
Then you have the poison fist as well.
Yeah, and there's a kind of a fantasy twist that explains why it's poisonous, because you saw in Iron Monkey, Two Great Cavaliers, Magnificent Butcher, they have the poisonous palm technique, but they never explain it.
No.
And this one actually gives an explanation. It's rooted in fantasy, but it's an explanation, so it's original.
Underrated film. I stand by that being underrated. All right, I'll agree with everyone. The last act is weak, but the rest of the film very solid.
Yeah. All right, then we have the Martial Club, Lau Kar Leung and Company.
Possibly the best fight scene of all time. Possibly.
It's in an alleyway. It's like completely narrow, and that's usually death for like a fight scene if you don't know how to film it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
Lau Kar Leung proves us wrong.
He uses every technique under the sun to get it done. He does overhead shots, beautiful overhead shots. It's just incredible. And the fact you could say, oh, this film is in an alley, and most people would go, how the hell did they film that? And then you add to that and go, by the way, the alley gets slimmer and slimmer as they go along. And it's conceptually, that's like, what? It's amazing. You have to see it to believe it. It's such an incredible fight scene.
And in the very best of the Lau Kar Leung tradition, he does the thing where it becomes almost instructional. All right, so I'm using this technique, but I'm going to Wang Long Wei is going to counter it with this technique, and then Gordon Liu is going to counter that with this other technique, and it just kind of goes back and forth. It's really smart.
It's so like again, Lau Kar Leung he's a visionary. His mind doesn't work, or didn't work, I should say, the same as everyone else's. There's moments in that film like he focuses, like there's like 10 seconds where they kind of twist a brick and then snap a brick in half.
Yeah,
that didn't need to be included. What is that? That's just a wild little bit he includes in the fight, but it's so great. It's so masterful, and it's. People watch this fight scene, and visually, it's fantastic. We all know that. Great, wonderful. It looks great. But conceptually, its complexities are beyond what the usual fight choreographers do. It is incredible. And it's the only film I can remember where possibly Johnny Wang Lung Wei is not quite a villain.
Right.
He's kind of a villain, but he's not full villain.
Well, it's kind of like some of the finales of some of his better movies, where like Heroes of the East, in the end they come to an understanding.
Yes,
and that's the important thing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so good this fight scene.
All right, then we have Tiger Over Wall, choreographed by Dong Tak Chung. Philip Ko versus Huang Jingli.
Oof.
And this
can't
one
argue with that.
It's like just almost 10 minutes of pure hate. First it's Philip Ko fighting off the henchman with the staff, and then you have the staff Kwando duel, which is just brutal, and then they get disarmed, and then Huang Zhengli goes into his kicking mode.
Yes,
he basically shows us everything he has in his repertoire.
Yeah, just pure boot work from him in this one, and it's wonderful.
And then we have Fearless Dragons, all choreographed by Chan Xiulong, which is kind of funny because this guy's name is Jackie Chen or Chan Xiulong, and so he's like one half Jackie Chan copycat, one half Bruce Lee copycat. It's weird.
Yeah, good point.
And the fight was Philip Ko, and Leung Kar-yun, Beardy versus Wang Lung Wei. And this one I had to choose because I wanted to get a beer. I wanted to get a classic beardy fight.
Yeah.
And so you have the victim, you have Thundering Mantis, and you have this one.
What about? Were you tempted by Legend of a Fighter?
That one too, but I don't know. The fights I saw in that I really liked, but I would say I was more impressed by the victim and Thundering Mantis than I was Legend of the Fighter.
The victim is the victim is incredible. I love that film, and I think Samo really stepped up for that one. Yeah. Thundering Mantis, the final fight scene is great, but unfortunately, you have that bit on the end when he goes crazy. Yeah, so it's really hard to add that to anything.
Yeah, so I ended up just going with Fearless Dragons. It has some Philip Coe during the horse style is just really it's mind-boggling what he can do with his body, because there's this part where he's like trotting backwards and then punching at the same time, and you think about what kind of body coordination you need to do these two sets of movements simultaneously. Crazy stuff.
It's such a good fight scene.
All right, then we have Sword Stained with Royal Blood, another Venom film, and this one was one that I chose because I wanted a Philip Kwok fight in it.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, Philip Kwok's best work, I think, was with Gunplay, like Hard Boiled and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But so I kind of went through some of his Venom's work, and this one was kind of the best of the bunch, so I stuck with it.
Yeah.
But I'm also not sure if I would include it if I were to redo this book today. I'd probably switch it out for something else.
Yeah, I actually rewatched the film I think last month, and whereas the film is pretty good and that fight sequence is great. Yeah, I don't. To me, it's not a huge standout, but if you were looking for just a Philip Kwok fight, then yes, it's pretty great.
I would actually, and if I had to pick a fight now, I would actually pick the one from the middle of the movie where he's kind of showing off his skills to the family.
Yeah.
Which is like it's this thing where like Philip Kwok and the Venoms, they could do like I don't know how many different techniques in a single take, but it's mind-boggling how many. I guess there was a rumor saying that Philip Kwok could do like up to 200 movements in a take if he wanted to.
I would. Do you know what? I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it if you told me any of the Venoms could. They're incredible.
Yeah, and so and that's one of the things I liked about Sword Stained with Royal Blood is that you have these extremely long takes and just really great choreography. All right, then we have Legendary Weapons of China, the finale.
Again, enough said on this one. I mean, it's just everyone knows it's wonderful. I recently, if everyone knows the channel, I had an episode of Fight Bites recently where I showed my wife this fight scene for the first time, and it blew her socks off. However, she did pick Lau Kar Wing versus Sammo Hung from Odd Couple over this one.
I had actually considered that one of those fights, but one of the rules I created, and remember I was younger when I did this book, was I actually set a minimum time limit, and it was like,
oh, okay.
And when I was younger, I kind of had the idea of quantity. Quantity is quality. So the longer the fight scene, the better. So there were a couple of ones that I would actually probably put today, but I didn't put the first time because of time concerns.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, then we have Wheels on Meals, Jackie and Benny. Goes without saying.
It really does. It really does. I don't think anyone can speak about that. I think even if anyone's familiar with the martial arts documentary, The Best of Martial Arts, they actually say in that documentary, I believe, that this one was voted best fight scene ever by Black Belt magazine.
I would believe so.
Back in the day, of course, that was what in the 90s, late 80s, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, there was a website I used to follow called Teleport City. It was a B-movie review site. I
remember that. Yeah.
And when Keith Allison, the main guy from the site, when he reviewed Way of the Dragon back around 2000, in his opinion at the time, he said that the best fight ever was Bruce versus Chuck, and then he said that Jackie versus Benny in Wheels on Meals was second place. So
yeah, you could definitely argue that. Yeah, personally, I'd put Jackie and Benny over
yeah,
Bruce and
me
Chuck,
too.
but that's just me. Yeah.
All right, then we have Yes, Madam, the final mansion fight. Michelle Yeoh and
I
Cynthia
don't think
Rothrock.
anyone can argue this. This is crazy. It's a crazy fight scene. Maybe Michelle Yeoh's best physical performance.
Right, and her flinging herself through plate glass,
Wonderful.
face first, just to pull two guys off a balcony.
Yeah, just perfection. This film, or not the film. Unfortunately I was let down by the film recently. But the final fight, pure perfection.
Right. Then we have Police Story, the mall fight. Also goes without saying.
I think that many people would put this at the top of the list as well. I think if you could count the entire mall finale, I think a lot of people would say it's the greatest action set piece ever made.
Yeah. I remember one time my English, when I was an English teacher, my English students they knew that I was a big fan of martial arts. And on the last day of class, we had a little party, and we took our party inside the school's media room, where they had like a little projector hooked up to the computer. And I said, okay, we're gonna play a game. I want you all to fill your cups with soda, and I want you to take a sip every time a pane of glass is broken. And I showed them the mall fight.
They all drank 6 cups of soda.
Yeah. So you could tell that they were sipping, filling it up, sipping.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's so glass centric, and it's no one's done anything like it since. It's perfect.
I know Rapid Fire paid homage to it.
Yeah,
in a couple of scenes. So I don't know if that was Brandon Lee, if that was his idea, or if that was the action director's idea, but it was always fun to see. All right, then we have Twinkle Twinkle Lucky Stars, the warehouse fight, Jackie Chan, Yun Biao, and Andy Lau versus Warehouse Full of Thugs.
The only time you'll see Andy Lau on a best fight scene of all time list, probably.
No, he has one more.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's Yun Biao has delivers some great kicks. Jackie Chan does too. Yun Biao, or Andy Lau does his. I wouldn't say he fakes it, because I think he had a fair amount of training by this point. I think for television.
Yeah.
So, I basically took this one, the construction finale from Heart of Dragon, and then the Funhouse finale from My Lucky Stars, and I kind of watched them back to back. Yeah. And then I just ended up just saying, "Oh, I love this one a lot more. This one gets more out of Yun Biao than My Lucky Stars did."
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I do love Heart of Dragon finale, but I would agree that this one's a special fight. It's just great.
Yeah. All right, then we have Book of Heroes, a Taiwanese movie. This is Yukari Oshima, and 2 Taiwanese actresses, Elsa Young and Pauline Lan, and it's basically kind of a remake of the Yes, Madam finale.
Yes.
Where they're fighting inside a mansion, and the head of the bad guys is Yasuaki Kurata, and then you just have this 10 minutes of Taiwanese madness, and you have Eugene Thomas, the Black Monk of Harlem, showing up as a henchman. Pauline Lan does some really good kicks. Yukari Oshima does too. She's excellent. And I wanted a Taiwanese movie, from the modern era. And I wanted one from Lin Chin Wong, who was the fight choreographer. Okay. He did the Kung Fu Kids movies. He did the Three Ninjas Knuckle Up. He did Fantasy Mission Force. He worked a lot with Kevin Chu. But I think this was his best moment.
He knows how to do some serious stunts and bumps, that guy. He knows how to hurt people.
Oh man, that movie has like a record for the number of people being thrown through a wall. Movie on the whole.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
All right, then we have Martial Arts of Shaolin, Lau Kar Leung choreographing Jet Li and company.
Can't really argue with that either.
And you just have this big finale on a boat. You have Jet Li fighting with a spear, fighting with his wushu. You have his co-star doing Southern Kung Fu, and there's this interesting scene where one of the general's henchmen attacks him, and he blocks, and then he blocks again, and he blocks again, and by the third block, the guy can't fight because his arms hurt so much, and that kind of encapsulates part of the ideals of Hung Gar.
Yes, big, strong forearms.
Yeah, it's kind of like every punch is a block, and every block is a punch.
Yeah.
And then you have the finale where Jet Li and Yu Hui use Bagua and Praying Mantis against the main bad guy. Just really good choreography. I remember you said in the forum that you're not a huge fan of the old school wushu stuff from the 80s. Not always.
I'm not. I'm slowly warming to it, but sometimes it feels a little too performative.
Yeah. And I think the best moments are when they were able to import Hong Kong talent to kind of put a little bit more oomph into it.
Yeah, spice it up a little, and if anyone's going to choreograph wushu, well, it's going to be Lau Kar Leung.
Yeah. All right, then we have Millionaires Express, the grand finale, which is several fights in one. You have Yuen Biao and Dick Wei, Samo versus Cynthia Rothrock, Richard Norton and Yasuaki Kurata.
Mm-hmm.
Just lots of great fighting and stunt work.
Oh, wonderful. I as a young gentleman, I remember it's a small moment in the film, and I'm not sure anyone else cares about it, but when Yuen Biao rolls up the stairs on the
that's awesome.
I watched that and I was like, oh my god, I need to see this film.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. Oh.
I really wish he hadn't gotten injured as much as he did, so that he could have done more of this, further into his career.
Yeah. He had Yuen Biao had so much potential, and some of it was met, some of it wasn't, and just a shame. And also Dick Wei, I know he was the most infamous bad guy ever, but I'd love to see him as a hero in a film.
He briefly played a good guy in Pedicab Driver.
Okay.
But his role is really small.
Yeah.
And I think he plays a good guy in Final Run, which is a Yukari Oshima film directed by Philip Koh.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't seen that one.
I think he's one of the heroes in that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one in a while.
I need to find a copy of that one. I think that's one of my holy grails.
Nice.
Final Run. All right, then our next film, Magic Crystal. Andy Lau and Cynthia Rothrock versus Richard Norton. Richard Norton using the size, was marvelous.
Cynthia Rothrock with the mantis.
Right. And there's just really, really good choreography, and it's the only inclusion from Tony Leung Siu Hong,
okay,
the youngest brother.
Yeah.
So it's good fighting, and it gave me a chance to put in a name that wouldn't appear elsewhere in the book.
Yeah, and also it's nice to see Richard. I know he was technically part of the Millionaires Express one, but Richard Norton in there, he's great.
I don't think as far as I can think back, I don't think he's gotten a better showcase than Magic Crystal.
No, 100%. I agree with you. Yeah, that's easily his best showcase.
He does a good job in Millionaires Express. He does a good job in City Hunter and Twinkle Twinkle Lucky Stars, but Millionaires Express was a tour de force.
Yes, it's a wonderful film.
All right, the next one I would probably remove from a later edition. This is Young Taoism Fighter. It's a Yuan clan sorcery movie.
Yeah,
and the final fight is basically Yuan Yat Cho, the younger brother of the Yuan clan. Yeah. He practices astral kung fu, and his arms and legs come off his body and start flying around and beating up the main villain.
I just want to say, I want to go on record for saying I absolutely adore this film, and I adore that fight scene. I am a big fan of it.
The main reason I chose it was because I wanted a magic fu fight,
Of course.
kind of, something from, something to represent magic fu.
Yeah.
And, Magic Cop didn't do it for me. Vampire versus Vampire, and Mr. Vampire, they didn't do it for me. I had considered Encounter of the Spooky Kind, but we had enough Sammo Hung already.
Yeah.
So I kind of went with this one.
Yeah. Yeah, wonderful. I love this. I hope it gets a remaster on Blu-ray at some point. I know they're putting out Miracle Fighters very, very soon. I think maybe this month or next month it's coming out on Blu-ray. But I really, really hope they get to Young Towers Fighter. It's such a joy.
Do you think that you'll try to show Devin Miracle Fighters?
I have purposely avoided anything Yuen Clan because she just won't stand for it. It's too much. It's beyond her. It's beyond her capability to enjoy. I just can't see it happening.
Have you shown her like any sort of magic food movie yet?
She absolutely loved. I think if you asked her, in fact, I could probably bring her in. Devin. No, maybe not. If I brought her in and asked her what her favorite film is that she's done for the podcast so far, I think she would say Encounters of the Spooky Kind.
Oh, okay.
She loved it. And she was very, very upset because that was an episode that only she and I did. And Cyrus missed out. He was sick that week. And she keeps telling him he has to watch it. He has to watch it. He never will. But yeah, she absolutely adored that film. And hence why, if anyone's out there with Encounters of the Spooky Kind too, get it to me. Because I really want her to see it as well.
Yeah, I remember renting Encounter of the Spooky Kind when Tyson put it out, and my sister walked into the room at the finale. So she's like looking at the TV, and you have like Sammo Hung talking like a monkey, and then like the other guy talking, the other possessed guy speaking with like a sped up chipmunk voice.
Yeah,
and she's kind of looking at it and looking at me and like, what the heck is this?
Yes, some parts of that are it's so crazy. That film's so crazy, but it's wonderful. I think my favorite fight scene in that film is honestly just Sammo Hung against the like the Jiangxi, the kind of deteriorating Jiangxi.
I always loved that fight. That was cool.
Oh, it's wonderful. Every October for the podcast, I try and do a horror related martial arts film. Or a horror-related film in general. It doesn't have to be martial arts. For example, we did the Korean film The Wailing last year. So this year, I was just like, should I do something Yuen Clan and kind of do something magical? But I decided not to. I'm still toying over a few ideas, whether it's going to be something like Project Wolf Hunting, which is a recent super gory Korean film. I'm tempted to do a serial killer thriller from South Korea called Midnight. But I'm also tempted to do something like Mr. Vampire 4 or The Vampire's Breakfast or something like that.
I bought a handful of South Korean horror films a couple months ago. There was like Into the Mirror, Face, The Wig.
Interesting.
Memories of Murder. I don't think that's horror.
Yeah, Memories of Murder is a very, very interesting film. I would love to hear what you say on it. The reason being, Memories of Murder, if you go online, everyone, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, best Korean film ever, best Korean film ever. I've watched it 3 times and I just cannot like it. I just do not enjoy it. And I just don't know why. I don't know. I'm tempted to watch it for a 4th time just to see, but it just doesn't grab me. It's strange.
I did watch A Tale of Two Sisters, and I liked that, but I need to watch that again.
I watched it. I probably watched it last month. I picked it up on Blu-ray, and it's an incredible film. Wonderful film.
Okay. Well, as soon as I'll probably around October, I'll do Memories of Murder, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Tell me what I'm missing.
All right. Okay, moving on. We have Dragons Forever, the chemical plant fight. Goes without saying.
It does go without saying. Again, everyone's seen this fight. Everyone knows this fight. Everyone picks out the Yun Biao bit when he's jumping in between the like kind of bridge barriers and just doing flips over people. Yeah, wonderful fight scene.
And if you take like the uninitiated and then show them the scene where he jumps through the window with all the broken shards.
Yep. So
Instant
good.
jaw drop.
Yeah, the only annoying thing about the finale of Dragons Forever is that Sammo Hung is sick throughout the entire thing and does not get to fight.
It would have been cool if they could have drawn out the fight between him and Yuan Hua.
Yes, yeah. Also, Yunhua just a wonderful villain in that film.
Oh yeah, every person I've showed that scene to just laughs their head off with him smoking a cigar.
Of course, it's so good. He's fantastic in that.
All right, and then we have Miracles, the rope factory fight.
An underrated fight scene, an underrated film. It's Jackie Chan's, in my eyes, it's Jackie Chan's best directed film. It's his kind of magnum opus. I think it's a wonderful film. He really did a hell of a job directing it. And when it comes to the action, people tend to dismiss it, but it's fantastic.
No, I was kind of deciding between maybe this. There was the finale to Armor of God, the finale to Project A2, any of the fights from Police Story 2, and the finale to Operation Condor. And I ended up just going with this one. I like the unusual setting of a rope factory.
Yeah.
And how Jackie just milks it for all it's worth.
Yeah, he's again. We're talking about Lau Kar-leung knowing his concepts and being very complex. Jackie Chan just knows comedy and knows what. Jackie Chan knows Jackie Chan best. He knows what works for him, and he just kills it every time.
So, and then we have Pedicab Driver Sammo Hung versus Lau Kar-leung.
This would be on my, I don't know, top 3, top 5. I don't know. It's so high up. It's wonderful. It goes from open hand stuff to the pole. No, pole to open. Does it go pole?
No, open hand to pole.
Open hand to pole. Wonderful fight scene. And the fact that you get 2 of the greatest fight choreographers, 2 absolute legends working on it. And the weird thing is, Lau Kar-leung doesn't do the fight choreography. It is Sammo Mang Hoi and Brandy Yuan.
Yeah. It's just really, really good stuff. I know there are a lot of people who actually like the finale with Billy Chow more. That's fine. But
no, it's great. Don't get me wrong. It's a fantastic scene, but no, it's got to be Lau Kar-leung.
Yeah. I just like this idea of the summit of martial arts masters.
Yes. It doesn't get any better. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
All right. Then we have In the Line of Duty 4, the finale, which was Donnie Yen, Cynthia Khan, Yoon Yat Cho versus Michael Woods, Stephen Berwick, and Cho Wing.
Yeah.
Really good choreography, really good kicks.
Probably
Cynthia Khan's best showcase. I don't think she's ever done better in her lower budgeted movies.
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say I love Cynthia Khan, but she definitely stands out in this one. This film's great. In the Line of Duty 4 is just a great action film, a great martial arts film, modern martial arts film. Right.
It's practically nonstop.
Yes, exactly.
And this movie, had the fight on the ambulance. It had the what some people call the dirt bike jousting.
Yes,
sledgehammers. It had everything. Stunts, fighting.
Is that the one? Is it Thai kick? No, it is In the Line of Duty with John Salviti with his crazy
spaz foo.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
All right, then now we go to the 90s. Skinny Tiger, Fatty Dragon, the finale, Sammo Hung versus Lau Kar-leung and company.
Yeah, and not enough people talk about this film, and definitely that finale is fantastic. Lau Kar-leung, I will stand by it. One of the most underrated on-screen martial artists of all time. Absolute wonderful fighter, and in this one, it's great. Are you including the whole climax with when Sammo beats up and uses the nunchucks?
Yes, everything. And one thing that impressed me was that I think today, maybe the last 10 years, the use of knives in fighting in movies, it's increased a lot.
Yes.
Maybe you have more like special forces types training actors and joining stuntmen organizations. So they kind of teach realistic knife techniques. You see that in like the John Wick movies and probably a whole lot of other ones. But I think before that, there was a time when you didn't really do a lot with knives. You would stab someone, you might swing it, and the person kind of jumps back.
Yeah.
But then you have this fight where they both take two short machetes, and they just go to town on each other, and it's like done in this really complex way, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like it's, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's almost like modern sword play, but with knives. It's super crisp as well. Super crisp choreography. You actually put. I'm looking at your list here, and I didn't know that Zhang Jingjin actually choreographed that fight.
Yeah, that was weird because at that time he was barely just working as a stuntman for Jet Li.
Yeah.
I don't know how he got the job, but
interesting.
All right. Then we have Once Upon a Time in China, the the granary finale, which is
it's good stuff.
I kind of went back and forth on this one and Jet Li versus Donnie Yen from Once Upon a Time in China 2.
Okay.
And I think this was weird because this is kind of this is the one where Jet Li hurt himself. So Xiong Xin did a lot of the did some of the work.
Yeah.
And then he would do some of the actual kicks, and then they just kind of filmed Jet Li up close in a stance. Because he was like recovering from a broken leg or something.
Yeah.
But it set the stage for the 90s, and I think it's important.
Yes, it really did. Funny enough, if you ask me about Once Upon a Time in China, so my favorite fight scene is why have I forgotten his name? Is it Yan Kuishan in that one? Is that his name?
Yan Shiquan.
Yan Shiquan. His fight in the rain against Jet Li.
Oh yeah.
It is my favorite fight scene aesthetically. I love it. I think even that rain fight is better than the one in the Grandmaster. I think it's absolutely perfect. May not be the best fight choreography, etc., but aesthetically and with the log that goes between them, it's just it's a great fight scene.
And then his first major fight was against Yuan Shengyun as a sword fighter.
Yes.
And that was filmed by the light of a bonfire. And it was just really well shot.
Just Choi Hawk knew what he was doing with this one.
Yeah, Choi Hawk. Do you have a favorite Choi Hawk movie?
Do you know what? It's cliche, but Once Upon a Time in China, and I actually prefer it to Once Upon a Time in China too. So it's genuinely, it's probably my favorite Jet Li film as well.
Jet Li, I think my favorite is Kiss a Legend, but I think Once Upon a Time in China, I think is my favorite of the series.
Yeah, Face of Legend is my favorite Jet Li film, martial arts wise, I think.
Yeah.
But Once Upon a Time in China, the story, the aesthetic, the Wong Fei Hung, it works for me.
It's just a beautifully filmed movie.
It really is. It really is.
All right, moving on, we have Butterfly and Sword from '93, Ching Siu Tung.
I haven't seen this film. I've never seen it.
This one I kind of put in because it was emblematic of Ching Siu. Because during the '90s wire fu, there were two major choreographers, Ching Siu Tung and Yuen Woo-ping.
Yes.
There were others that did stuff, but these two really defined that period.
Right.
And Butterfly and Sword, the last two fights that kind of happened back to back, it's just pure insanity. It's pure imagination. It's not about the martial arts. It's about what Ching Siu Tung can imagine his characters doing.
Bring in all the wires and we'll just go bonkers.
Yeah. And so you have this scene where Tony Leung Chiu Wai is firing Michelle Yeoh from a bow and arrow. She's like a human arrow. You have a Donnie Yen fighting the guy in a sword fight, and you have a quadruple blood geyser at the end. It's insane. Then you have a guy with a telekinetic Freddy Krueger claw, and you have Chun-Li whirlwind kicks. It's just insane.
I need to put it on my list. I need to watch this one.
I mean, today I might take it off the list for maybe
Mm-hmm.
something else, but I think that was the set piece that really defined the imagination of Ching Siu Tung.
Yeah. I mean, he's a great choreographer, and yeah, I really need to see this one. I've held off on watching it for some reason. I don't know why. It's been on my list, but I've just never gotten around to it.
It was one of the ones where I rented, and I thought it was okay, but I continued renting it, and then just the more I watched it, the more I liked it. And now it's just one of the classics.
That's awesome.
All right, then we have Feng Sayuk 2, the blindfold samurai sword fight.
Fantastic fight scene. Very iconic. Very just a great moment visually and just again conceptually, just wonderful.
And another opportunity to put Corey Ewan in because Sammo, Jackie, and Ewan Bing are still in the lead, so it's good to have a little bit of variety. And I think it's one of Corey Ewan's good moments.
Yeah, Corey Ewan can do some good stuff, but he's also he can be a bit wild sometimes.
Yeah, I think he had a harder time adapting to the post 2000s than I think a lot of the other directors did.
Yeah.
Maybe he just didn't accept the right scripts, but
yeah, he really struggled. His latter films are questionable to say the least.
Yeah, which I'm kind of glad is that he did maybe Shaolin because that was probably his last really good one.
So good as well. It really. If you would have asked me who choreographed this film or who did the action direction, I would not have said Corey Ewan.
Yeah. That had some good fights in it, like the one with the axes. You don't see enough axes in the movie. You see hatches, but not like battle axes. And it was just really, really good.
Yeah, great film.
I think I posted somewhere. I think I posted on Corey Ewan's page at the forum. What happened to him? They say he's like in bad health. So
really,
he's kind of retired, but not officially.
Okay. Oh, that's sad news.
All right, then we have Blade of Fury, a Sammo Hung directed wuxia film. Have you seen this one?
Oh yes, someone should take this film. Just take all the fight scenes, just slow them down a little bit.
Yeah.
Just the undercranking in this film is the most egregious undercranking you will ever see.
Yeah, that was especially a problem in the fight between the main hero and Sammo Hung, who had a cameo.
Yes,
that was pretty egregious. It got a little better in the finale.
Yeah.
But I love the finale. You have this scene where it's like you have the hero fighting the main villain who's using Drunken Sword. You have Cynthia Khan with a spear fighting the guy with a meteor hammer.
Mm-hmm.
And you have this little kid who wants to fight, and like no one takes him seriously.
Yeah.
And then he just grabs a random soldier, takes his weapons, and starts killing about dozens of guys with a pair of broadswords. It's awesome.
It's such this film also someone needs to get hold of it and put it out on Blu-ray or something. I think someone put it out in France, if I remember correctly. But I'd love to see a remaster of this film and watch it again because I don't have a copy anymore. Unfortunately, I got rid of all my DVDs. I kept my Blu-rays, but got rid of my DVDs. But I would love to see this again. It's been a long time, but I also like how kind of they didn't hold back on the violence in this film. There's some pretty extreme violence. One of my favorite moments is when the guy gets his head cut off, and then the head is kicked at another soldier, and it hits the other soldier. Great stuff.
I had a friend who reviewed this movie back when it first came out on DVD in the early 2000s. And he said that some of the gore was worthy of a Monty Python movie. Like during the finale, the main character, he cuts Lao Shun in half.
Yes.
And his half falls to the ground.
Yeah.
He screams. He looks at his bottom half, which is still standing up. He screams again. And then each half just falls over. It's
Yeah, a bit silly, but yeah, I mean, it's I guess trademark silliness of some. You'd expect that from the Yoon clan, I think, and not
yeah.
Sama.
Oh, and the tournament sequence, which happens midway, that actually has a guy doing Bagua as well.
Oh, nice. Okay, I definitely need to rewatch this film.
I need to find it. I can get a bootleg VHS to DVD rip here in Brazil because I actually rented it on VHS when I moved here back in 2004.
Oh, okay.
But it never actually got released on DVD, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the Made in Hong Kong VHS a while back, but unfortunately I had to let that go as well.
But that one was actually, a lot of people rated it high back in the day.
Yes, I remember people talking about it a lot.
Today, I might not include it. Today, I might switch it out for The Blade, the Vincent Zhao one, which has a quirky finale, but I like that one.
Yes, very. It's an acquired taste, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah. All right, then we have Iron Monkey, Yuan Wu Ping. I think this is another one where you could probably pick any one fight and put it on there.
Agree. I very much agree with that statement. Yes.
So I chose the burning pillar fight at the end, just because of the creativity. But I mean, if someone chose the no shadow kick sequence or Xiaoho versus Yu Rong Wang,
it's a full film. Funny enough, Iron Monkey. I didn't used to like it. I thought it was too goofy. This is when I was like a teenager, so I stopped rewatching it or revisiting it for years, decades even. And then we actually rewatched it for the podcast, and I was just like, "Oh wait, I was completely wrong. I absolutely love this film." My co-host not so much.
Yeah, with my friends and I, it was love at first sight. We fell in love.
Yeah, I get that. It's a special film.
All right, then we have Tai Chi Master, 1993, Yun Wu Ping, finale. This one I chose because this is the closest film I've seen that I can remember where the concept of the final fight is ground versus wires. Because Jet Li's on the ground doing Tai Chi, and then Chin Siu Ho's doing all these crazy wire things. And because Tai Chi, the philosophy of Tai Chi talks about taking energy from the earth, so you need to stay on the ground,
grounded,
exploiting the center of gravity. All these crazy wire food kicks are actually detrimental to Chin Siu Ho's fighting style.
Yes. Yeah, it's again another film I didn't love when I first saw it, but I revisited it and I ended up really, really enjoying it. And thankfully, it's coming out over here right around the corner, I believe. There's a special edition coming out from 88 Films, if anyone doesn't know. I don't know if it's going to be 4K. They haven't announced it. The 4K Fist of Legend comes out this month. Whether it comes out in 4K, I don't know, but apparently it's going to have all the bells and whistles. So excited about that one.
Yeah, sadly, the DVD in Brazil is the Twin Warriors edit, so takes away the really good soundtrack.
It's tough.
Instead of calling out the names of the moves, it's just grunts.
Yeah. That's a shame. I'm glad that some of these are getting remastered and getting the proper dialogue put in and the proper original language and great subtitles.
Yeah. But Tai Chi Master was always a favorite. That was another love at first sight in my case.
Good stuff.
All right, we have Drunken Master 2, the Foundry finale.
I asked on Instagram and on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, what's everyone's favorite fight scene, and everyone says the finale of Drunken Master 2. Everyone says the Drunken Master 2 finale, whether they like kung fu movies or not. They've all seen it, and it blows them away.
Yeah. I know there are people out there who actually like some of the other fights more.
That's me.
Are you for the train fight or the tea house fight?
I actually like the marketplace fight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love the marketplace fight, but I will say this: the train fight is chef's kiss. I absolutely love that fight scene. Don't get me wrong, I love the finale. I think it's very, very good. But
No
I
problem.
like. I don't know. In the very last fight scene where he's fighting Ken Lo, I think the shapes slightly go out the window, and it gets far too ferocious and far too brutal. But
Kind
in
of
the
young
marketplace,
master.
yeah, yes, exactly, Dragon Lord, young master style. But in the marketplace, he's all shapes, all drunken
Right,
boxing,
right.
and it's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. I did just mention. I actually know someone. I knew a Chinese kid in high school, who was a big Jackie Chan fan. He
Hmm.
went to a different school, but we had a mutual friend. So sometimes I would go over to his house with the other friend, and we
Okay,
would talk Jackie Chan. And he actually said that he preferred the market fight.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's something about it. There's something about that just gets me. It may be just because I'm an old school shapes guy at heart, and maybe don't get me wrong, I love the finale, but it may be just a little too brutal, a little too ferocious for me. But
yeah.
give me proper direct shapes. I'm all over it.
Now it's kind of funny if you think about it. Jackie Chan, one of the seven fortunes, versus Lau Kar Leung, broadsword and saber.
Hmm.
Sammo Hung, one of the seven fortunes, and Lau Kar Wing, his brother, in the Odd Couple,
Yep.
broadsword and spear.
Saber. Yep. Exactly. Yes. Very. Yeah. That's I never even thought about that, but yeah, that's
It
pretty
popped in
awesome.
when I was pondering, preparing for the podcast. I was like,
Yeah,
huh.
that's awesome stuff.
All right. Fist of Legend, Jet Li versus Billy Chow. A lot
I
of people
mean,
like this fight.
yeah, this one's also a given. Wonderful fight scene. It lasts a good amount of time.
Yeah,
It's the size difference is incredible. It's just Billy Chow looks unstoppable in this fight scene.
right. And it's funny because I watched him in other movies, and he doesn't always look as buff as he did in this one. I don't know
No,
if
no.
because
It almost looks
even
like forced perspective in this film sometimes. He looks like
I think so.
towering over Jet.
Um, I don't know if he bulked up just for this movie
Yeah.
because there's that training scene where he's like putting nails through the board
Yeah.
and he's jacked.
Yeah. You're right. He doesn't. He's kind of like skinny in a lot of films, but here he looks
Yeah,
far stronger. Yeah. So good. Such a good film. I look forward to seeing that again. Hopefully by the end of this month.
and kind of like with the other films, you can probably choose any one fight and make a good argument to put it on the list.
Yes.
The
Yes.
dojo fight or him versus Furata-san.
I couldn't agree more. I think every single fight scene in Fist of Legends blows so many other fight scenes out of the water. I mean, it's
Yeah.
again a special film and just a non-stop homage to Kung Fu cinema. Just great stuff.
Wonderful. Then we have Wing Chun, Yun Wo Ping, and Donnie Yen choreographing the finale. I wanted
Yeah.
another Michelle Yeoh movie, so it's like, okay, do we want to go creative and have the famous tofu fight, or creative and have the fight on top of the spear, or something just a little more direct? And I went with direct. Her versus Norman Choi again.
I think you picked the right one, and to be honest, whenever Norman Choi's on the list, I'll always give it a thumbs up. I love that guy. I love him. What was I watching recently with him in? I was just watching something with Norman Choi in. Oh my god, I can't remember. I was just I can't remember what film it was, sadly. But yeah, he always blows me away.
And it's cool because he's kind of like Beardy in that he didn't have formal training like his brother. He was just really
Yes.
athletic and just do whatever the choreographer said and look convincing.
He could just pull it off. Yeah, he's fantastic, and he's great in pretty much every film he's in.
Yeah. All right, we have My Father is a Hero, the finale, directed and choreographed by Corey Ewan. So that's Jet Li fighting off an army of guys with the nightsticks, and then he fights Yu Rong Guang, who is using his coat and a kind of
Again, I think so. This has kind of been a thread as we've been talking about these kind of high concept ideas in fight scenes. And if Martial Club was Lau Kar Leung's kind of very high concept, this is Corey Ewan's. He's just like, okay, let's bring the coat in, let's do the nightstick. Yeah, it's just wonderful.
and then Jet Li and Xian Mao, they do the double rope dart.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He's on the end of the rope. Just again, silly, but somehow works.
Yeah. Um, Thunderbolt, the pachinko parlor fight, choreographed by Sammo Hung.
I have that fight scene on my phone ready to post on Instagram some point soon. I've been, I don't know why, I've had it on there for like probably 6 months because I have so many fight scenes to post, but that one is on my phone right now. So it will be posted soon. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that one. And that's one where Jackie was still injured from Rumble in the Bronx. So I guess he had 2 or 3 doubles, like
I
Jim
imagine so.
Carlock.
Yeah.
And I think Colin Cho also helped out with some of the kicks. But it's just really, really well done.
Yeah. Has anyone done a video essay singling out every single one of Jackie Chan's doubles and like talking about them? I wonder.
No, I know there are threads at the fandom that kind of try that kind of
Yes.
jump into that.
Yes. Yes. It would be a great video essay to do. I don't have time or energy to do one, but I think it would be great to single them all out and just not as a way of, not as an affront to Jackie, but just in a way to celebrate the people that did these amazing things. Like no one knows who Chin Carlock is. No one outside the genre knows who Chin Carlock is. They think Jackie does it all, but he's an absolute legend, Chin Carlock.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because in the 90s, Chin Carlock tried to become the next thing, and it didn't work.
No.
So he kind of focused on action direction.
Yeah.
And it worked out for him. He became the head of the Hong Kong Stuntman Association Guild union thing. And he does a lot of high profile action movies. Gets nominated, hasn't won, but gets nominated every year, almost every year.
Yeah. Fantastic. He's still doing it, still looking good. Yeah. Good for him.
All right, we have Mahjong Dragon. Vincent Zhao versus Ken Lo on top of the fruit boxes.
I can't talk about this one. I have not seen this film.
It is probably people always talk about Ken Lo. Like, was he ever able to recreate the magic of Drunken Master Q? And this is the first cited movie.
Okay.
He does his crazy kicking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very based on environment. So him and Vincent Zhao are on top of a bunch of boxes of fruits, and Ken Lo's a triad, and he has his men with a bunch of hostages, and basically they play a game. Yes. If your hand touches the ground, I break a hostage's arm. If your foot touches the ground, I break a hostage's leg. If your body touches the ground, I kill them.
Okay.
And so,
great concept.
So you have this, and so it's really based on working with the environment, working with what they have to keep their balance, plus Vincent Zhao's wushu and Ken Lo's kicking, and it's really good. It's probably one of the best fights of the second half of the 90s.
I need to seek that one out. Then I'll definitely give it a watch at some point.
Okay, yeah, it's worth it's. People are mixed about the movie on a whole, but it is. I actually liked it a lot.
Okay. It was a good movie. Yeah, I'll give it a watch.
Okay, we have Legend of the Wolf, Donnie Yen, and I chose the second to last fight, Donnie Yen versus Mak Wai Chung, the Eagle Claw guy.
Yeah, I warmed up to this one. I never liked it as a teenager. I never liked it when I first got hands on the genre. And to be honest, I didn't like it through maybe until I was 35 years old. And just recently I've watched it and just been like, do you know what? There's something about this fight scene I kind of like.
Yeah. And Legend of the Wolf is kind of the opposite of like Drunken Master Q and Fist of Legend, where I can say you can choose any fight and you can make a good argument. Mm-hmm. And Legend of the Wolf is different. You can make any argument against putting it in, and I can say I understand. Yeah. I may not agree, but I completely understand.
Right. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I'd like to see that one again. I hope that gets some kind of remaster soon as well.
Yeah, it needs one. It deserves one.
Yeah.
All right, we have Once Upon a Time in China and America, the finale.
Okay.
Choreographed by Sammo Hung.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Is it Joe? Is it Saya?
Yes, Saya.
Yeah,
It was,
he came and went.
yeah, it was funny. I had there weren't a lot of there were a lot of karate schools in my hometown of Stockton, California,
Hmm.
but I could only find, at least in the yellow pages back when we had phone books, I could only find one kung fu school. It was called
Hmm.
Charlie's Wing Chun, and then when I was in junior college, I was part of a study group, and one of the members of the study group actually studied Wing Chun there.
Mm.
And he said that one time Josiah came to the school to give a demonstration, and
Wow.
he said that, like, him and the Charlie, the Sifu, and Josiah, they started doing the fast Wing Chun hand exchanges,
Yeah.
and he said it was just unbelievably fast, and Joe beat him in the end.
Wow. Wing Chun guy, huh? That's so
Yeah.
interesting. Great fight. Great film. Underrated film, that.
Yeah, for this was another movie that I reviewed in the early days of the original site that I was tired of people talking about.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I watched it fairly recently and had a good time with it.
All right, I need to watch it again. I have it on DVD here. It got two different releases here on DVD.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but nothing on Blu-ray.
No.
All right, we have Black Sheep Affair, Ching Siu Tung, Vincent Zhao versus Andrew Lin. This is just one of my. It's not a guilty pleasure, but it's one that a lot of people criticize because of using wires in the modern days.
No.
I love it. I've always loved it.
This is a finale, right? With pure destruction.
Yeah, they're throwing each other upstairs. They're fighting with swords. Vincent Zhao's doing his aerial kicks. It's just wonderful.
It's great. It's great. The film itself, I don't love everything that isn't action. I love the action in this film, but the
Yeah,
film's kind of okay. But that final fight scene's great. Wires and all, I'm a big fan.
there were a lot of Mark Pollard, who used to run Kung Fu Cinema.
Yes.
He came down really hard on it, and that broke my heart because I'd already had an exalted place on my own list for it. There were some other sites that really brought it down, but I've always loved it. I've always loved Black Sheep Affair.
Yeah,
All
I'm a big fan.
Who Am I? Jackie Chan versus Kwan Yong and Ron Smernborg on top of the building.
Again, no one's going to argue with this one, right? So many people love it. It's a classic.
Yeah, I actually kind of chose between this one and the final fight for Gorgeous against Bradley James Allen.
Okay.
I wanted to get kind of too late. I wanted to get a late period of Jackie Chan, from the time that I was writing. And I ended up showing this to my brother-in-law. Showing both to my brother-in-law. And, he said, "Who am I? Who am I is better."
I think to be honest, I do think Who Am I is better. I love the fact that Brad Allen is in the Gorgeous fight scene, and I love that Brad Allen really got a chance to shine because we didn't see him in front of the camera enough, and certainly he gets to really really show off his skills. But there's something about the concept of the Who Am I fight where they're swapping and going in, and Jackie doing his crazy stunts on the edge of the building. It just, it's a classic fight scene. Who Am I? Sadly, I don't love that film.
I can understand.
That's one where I used to love it as a teen, but a few years later, I just kind of fell out.
It has pacing issues.
It does. But yeah, it's the fight scene more than makes up for that. It's fantastic.
That fight I kind of consider a reverse Secret Rivals fight, in which you have two villains, one a fist master and one a kicker, fighting the hero in tandem.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's awesome.
All right, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, the weapons fight between Michelle and Zheng Zi.
Yep. If anyone doesn't know and you want to listen to the Food for Thought podcast, this is the last episode we did. We did Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I sat down with Devon and we talked about this fight quite extensively. And we did say that it is one of the best weapons fights of all time.
I agree totally. I in the commentary for the regular DVD, Ang Lee said that he actually wanted Michelle to use a rope dart at one point, and she'd actually used it in Magnificent Warriors before.
She sure did. She used the hell out of that rope dart.
But Yun Woo-ping said it was kind of complicated to do, kind of complicated to choreograph. I don't know if that was trying to choreograph around Zhang Ziyi and her dancing, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was, if she was fighting maybe a Donnie Yen type, it'd probably be easier to work with it, because he also knows his way around it.
Yes.
But and so they ended up going with the hard whip, which was that club weapon that she has.
Yeah.
It's the fourth weapon she uses.
Yeah.
And then
it's
great choreography.
It's so varied as well. Yeah, great choreography, so varied, wonderful shots. Just the fact that we get to see hook swords, which is rare. We don't get to see them enough. Yeah, good stuff.
All right, Hero, Jet Li versus Donnie Yen, choreographed by Ching Siu Tung and Stephen Tung Wai.
Another fight scene no one's going to argue with. I'm pretty sure whenever anyone brings up Hero, they point out this fight scene.
Yeah.
Two legends in a rematch. Just good stuff.
When in 2004, back when it was coming out, under Quentin Tarantino's name,
yeah,
I already had the import DVD, and I was with my family for a family reunion. And I put that in the DVD player, and my uncle and a couple of cousins and my brother-in-law, they sat down and watched the movie with me.
Yeah.
And then I asked them, okay, what was your favorite fight? Everyone. Jet Li versus Donnie Yen.
Yeah, it's definitely a special fight, and I don't know why, but the black and white just kind of adds to it, and it's sword versus spear again. It's a wonderful combination, and I think I'm very happy. I just ordered Hero, actually. It's coming out as a special edition here very soon, and I'm really looking forward to grabbing it. But I don't know if it's the extended Korean version. Not that matters, but the fight scene, I'm really excited about revisiting it. It just has so many great moves. There's the one where it kind of gently rolls down the spear and he kind of flicks him off the spear. Great stuff.
Oh, that one was interesting, because that's another example of Jet Li listening to his fans, or kind of understanding. He kind of read the room.
Yes.
Because Chung Yimou, he said he wanted to make the best fight scene, something to top Crouching Tiger. And then Jet Li basically said, if you want the best fight scene, bring in Donnie Yen.
Yeah. He was right. He was definitely right.
It's like you want to compete with that weapons fight we just talked about. All right, you need Donnie.
Yeah. Great fight scene.
All right, we have Fearless, 2006, Yun Woo-ping choreographed. Jet Li versus
Interesting fight you chose. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, I chose the restaurant fight. And that's kind of another movie where you probably could have chosen 2 or 3 different ones and also made a good argument.
Yes.
I just like the brutality of this one. They're fighting with swords.
Yeah.
They're literally just destroying the entire restaurant.
They really are. Beautifully shot fight as well. Very low light, and just it's a nice, the fact that everything looks so calm and quiet, but they're just utter destruction. It's kind of a nice juxtaposition, and I just think it's funny enough, I have this one on my phone as well, but I'm scared to post it because I think you might get it removed. I think someone with the rights to Fearless doesn't like that one being posted, so I might not. But yeah, it's wonderful. Some people might say the finale when there's a whole bunch of weapons, but I understand why you chose this one.
Yeah, and I mean, you could have gone with the novel. I wouldn't, but I mean, I can understand someone with the novelty of the Nathan Jones fight, the novelty of fighting the giant.
Yeah.
Or the first platform fight against the Tiger Claw Master.
The platform one's great. I love that fight scene as well. We're covering Fearless on the podcast a little further down the line. It's on my
cool.
list of to-do films.
Yeah, I think we're all sad that Jet Li didn't take movie making in general quite as seriously after Fearless.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and it's a shame, but he wanted to do other things and focusing on other endeavors. If he had just finished with this one right out, that would have been the perfect send off.
Yeah, it really would have a perfect ending to his career. I hope he's got one more in him at some point, but I don't think so.
Yeah. He had a lot of health. He had a lot of thyroid problems and health problems.
Yes. Yeah. Poor guy.
Yeah. So that's what it's like. Once in a while, you have someone who's really, really good, but for whatever the reason, they don't age well. Maybe it's not even their fault. It just happens, and I think that's kind of Jet Li.
Yeah, I think you may be right there. It's I'm glad he's living a good life and he's focusing on like charity and stuff like that and focusing on his health, and I think that's wonderful. Once you're done and you feel effects of whatever medical condition you're suffering from, as much as the fans want you to work, I'm glad that they focus on their health and call it a day. I mean, what's got to be done has got to be done.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the same reason why I don't sweat so much Jackie Chan using wires after the year 2000. Same thing.
No, exactly. Yeah, you can't complain. Yeah, exactly. Go ahead and give us number 55. 55 in
55.
The greatest 55 fight scenes of all time. Go ahead.
All right, let's close out with Flashpoint. Donnie Yen versus Colin Cho.
This one is like Drunken Master 2. Everyone that's seen it probably puts it in their top 3. It is an incredible fight scene. It literally redefined the modern era when it comes to kung fu, or not kung fu, just fight scenes. I honestly believe if you didn't have this fight scene, you would genuinely not have John Wick. I know they're not quite the same, but I don't think you'd have it. This reinvented modern fight choreography.
Oh yeah, and it's the sort of fight that it has the Jackie Chan winks quality to it.
Yeah.
That that Tony Jaa could do and Donnie Yen did just by throwing each other through things, falling down back first from high places.
Yeah, and, it's rough. It's a very rough fight. And Colin Cho as well. Glad to see him on the list.
Yeah, I had actually considered at one point putting the finale to Bodyguard from Beijing, but that didn't make the final cut. But that's also a pretty good one.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
It's very creative.
Yes, absolutely. But this one, I think this deserves a special place because it reinvented so much and just gave us a modern masterpiece in terms of the fight. I don't necessarily love the film, but the fight scene is just brutal, well choreographed, fresh. It looks new and exciting, or it did when it first came out. It did so much. Iconic.
I agree with you. The movie's good, but it's kind of good thanks to the final fight. It's kind of like Who Am I? It has pacing issues. It takes a while to get going. It has maybe a couple of small action scenes in the middle, but it's that last finale that just really, really brings it home.
Yeah, it's truly wonderful. I would say that this one is on the list that you have. I think this is definitely one of the more special ones in terms of what it did, what it defined. It has a special place in martial arts cinema history, and I'm glad we ended on that one. Actually, that's a perfect one to end on. There you go, everyone. Top 55 fight scenes of all time. I think we will wrap up the conversation with that, if that's okay with you.
No problem.
I think we talked for a nice amount of time. I didn't expect to go this long, and do you know what? I will say this. I say it every time. Every time we go this long, I absolutely love it. the fact that I can sit down with someone as passionate as Blake, as absolutely able to talk about the genre as Blake, as just fascinated by fight scenes, the complexities, each and every star, each and every fight choreographer, to sit down with someone like that and just talk for close to 3 hours is an absolute gift. It's wonderful. I don't have people in my vicinity that I can talk to about martial arts cinema. It doesn't happen. My family, my friends, they're not part of the group. I can go on the boards and talk all day. That's wonderful. But to sit down with someone and be able to talk for 3 hours about Kung Fu cinema, martial arts cinema, it's an absolute joy, an absolute pleasure. And yeah, thank you so much, Blake, for coming on. It means the world that you would hop on with me and give me this amount of time. I really, really appreciate it. And by all means, I guess this is the point. If you have anything to plug, tell people where they can find you. Please, please, please have some time.
Okay, thank you. It's been an honor. And like you, I don't really have people I can talk to about martial arts. You know, sometimes I'll show a fight scene to my brother-in-law, but you know, nothing in depth. So this is a privilege and a blessing. And
Great.
And I told you, it's always been my dream to be a guest on a podcast. So
well, I'm glad I can make that dream come true.
Now, just a plug, I have my website, abeautifulfilm.blogspot.com.
It'll be in the description. It'll definitely be in the linked in the description.
And you know, I try to update about twice a week, sometimes more, sometimes a little less, depends on life. And then I have my fanzine, the Martial Arts Movies Almanac. So far, we have 4 issues out. Issue 5 should be out within the next week, and you know that comes out. That's every 2 months. So if you want to kind of follow the history of martial arts movies starting with 1970 and moving onward, then that's available. And then I have my original book that's still in print. It's all about the style by Blake Matthews.
There you go. Get yourself a copy. It's a hell of a good book. I know whatever my word means to people, which probably isn't much, I can say it's a hell of a book. Everyone should pick it up.
I thank you very much for this privilege and opportunity.
No problem at all. And to be honest, I'm going to say it now. I would love to have you on again, which we will talk about probably offline in a second. But in the meantime, I will say thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And to be honest, let's say if you have different fight scenes that are in your top 55 that you would like to throw in the comments, let's get a discussion going. What did we miss? What would we write about? Let us know if there's ones that are like, no, that should have been on the list, this one that I have. So go ahead, discuss it in the comments. You know where you can find me. I'm on Instagram at foo_for_thought. I'm on Twitter or X at foo4thoughtspod. This is my YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Listen to my podcast, watch my podcast. It's available on YouTube, obviously, or it's available on all good audio platforms like Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, all that good stuff. And until next time, I will wrap it up here. Thank you so much, everyone, again, and I will catch you